Wicked, wicked. Jungle is massive. Wicked, wicked. Wicked, wicked. Jungle is massive. Wicked. Yo, 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 yo. We got this skill.
Hello, you hammers. You're all right. Sorry, it's a late one. We've made a decision between us all because of the hot, sticky day that we've had to make it a little bit later. You know, hoping that the temperature will drop, and it has dropped. It's quite chilly up here now with both my windows open. It's lovely.
Yeah, it's going to turn into quite a nice night. Apparently, it's going to drop down to like 20, and tomorrow in the week is going to be all right.
Yeah, yeah. And I know there's people in the chat saying, yes, we're late, shocking. Weren't my fault this time. I was early. It's John's fault. He's been dicking around with his StreamYard account and locked himself out, and we've been trying to sort it out.
The one and only time in all the time we've been doing this more early, you have the cheek to WhatsApp me and Gary going, where are you guys?
I don't know where the fuck he was. I don't know what you're playing at.
Literally the first time in 18 months.
Yeah, and he has the cheek to try and make
this. I'm a busy guy. I like to make an entrance. What can I say?
That face.
He's excited for his monologue, isn't he, John? He's excited.
Yeah.
Nicholas Shakespeare.
Nicholas Shakespeare. Yeah, look. Before everyone is, we're going to get into the talking points because there's lots of them. So we're going to talk about Tim Steidman. We're going to talk about Declan Rice, all the other rumours that have come out. Lucas Paqueta. Not going to focus too much on the fucking transfer links at the moment because I just don't believe it. You know, not yet. Especially if we are getting a director of football, James Ward-Prowse, Polina, 28, 29-year-old players coming in. It's not the sort of deals that directors of football will do. So I don't think there's anything in that. Directors of footballs. That's what I am at Cuffley. but look, anyway. So look, let's get into it. The first topic of the night is Tim STEITTON. How do you pronounce it? Tim
Steidman?
Is it Steidman?
Tim STEITTON.
My name is Tim Steidman.
Right, now look, like I reckon 99% of people that follow West Ham, you will have known nothing about this guy. We certainly didn't. And we're about to go and do some digging into what he has done before. And I'm sure you've seen the stories now. There's been various articles out there on his history. You know, he came through at Werder Bremen, did very, very well. He was a player. He was a defensive midfielder, progressed through the ranks. He's done more or less every role at a football club, all the way up to technical director, and then he's done the same at Leverkusen, and his record is ridiculous. Now, there is no way on earth that David Sullivan would have known who Tim Steidman or Steedman or whoever it is was. He would have had no clue. This is a guy that's got the smallest fucking idea of football, this little window. You know, if it isn't the obvious old faces, there is no way he would have known who this guy was. Not a chance in hell. And
you underestimate him. You underestimate him. Maybe one of his sons told him about him.
Yeah. But because let's have it straight. From what we've read here and from what I've seen and from how this guy's regarded, he was talking to Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, Spurs. This guy, in director of football terms, is elite. He's up there. If you're talking about managers, you're talking about Klopp. Perhaps not Pep, but whatever. He's elite. Pochettino, Klopp. He's literally the top. His record is fucking ridiculous. There is no way on earth he would have come in unless he was given full control. Now, we know that we've got a manager that's been retained that, you know, not very many of us on this panel, well, none of us on this panel wanted retained, who likes to work in that sort of environment. He likes to have his own players. He likes this, you know. There is no way this guy would come in. There's a lot of people that have come out and said, maybe Tim Steidman's come in and they're just going to give David Moyes a year's grace. No, that would never happen, because if this year is a failure, it will get pinned on Tim Steidman the same way it was going to get pinned on Rob Newman. No guy with this reputation would come in unless they're saying, we're going to give you full control. We're going to give you full control. You bring the players in. This is how we're doing it. And for me, like I said to you, going back to this, there is no way that this is a David Sullivan thing. Now, we know that the club were looking to sell. We know they were. Then we know that we had the untimely passing of David Gold, which has thrown things up in the air quite a bit. You know, his shares are now in probate, which is probably slammed the brakes on an immediate deal. My theory on this is that there is a new owner in place. I think there is. I think it is going to be sold. I think the club is going to be sold. I think David Moyes is being retained because they don't want to go out there, get another manager in on a new long-term deal and have to reshuffle tons and tons of, backroom staff and this, that, the other, even though Warburton has gone. We'll talk about that as well. I think, that they believe that, at the very least, David Moyes will keep us in the Premier League, which is all that matters to them. I personally believe that with the sale of Declan Rice and that money coming in, that's a big payday. I think this guy has been positioned within West Ham to make sure that money is invested properly for when the new owners take over moving forwards for West Ham, because this is not the type of thing that Sullivan does. It is not. This is a big boy move, and he will not be here unless he's written into his contract that he's got full control, 100%. That is my take on this. Gary, over to you.
Yeah, I think reading about him, I think you're absolutely right. This is a very highly rated. I'm actually quite. I don't get excited often, but I'm quite excited about this, by this, because he is. He's data driven. In other words, he takes the same approach as Brentford, as Brighton, as these clubs who have been buying low and selling high, and really identifying some key talent. In order to do that, he needs to know the system and be familiar with the system that he's going to be buying, I would think, talent for. Whether he's adaptable enough to, depending on, say this year it's Moyes' system and he needs to buy a few cheap additions for David Moyes, that could be attractive for Sullivan, that could be attractive. And also Sullivan, you don't know whether Sullivan's been asking questions, because if I was a football club owner and I've been spending lots of money that perhaps I didn't want to spend at a club like West Ham, I might be asking the question, how can we get some of that action? How can we bring someone in that's going to give us that intelligence in order to go and make some of these cute purchases, I
agree, but this is talking about. Listen, David Sullivan could have done that at any point in his managerial reign. He could have delegated to an expert, which is what this guy is. He's never done that, and we know the reason that he likes doing that is because he likes to dip his fingers into transfers, use his favourite agents, because we know that that's how he gets his little paydays out of the club.
I agree.
That's what he does. That's what he does.
I agree, but one thing that motivates David Sullivan more than anything is saving a few quid. We know that, right?
Yeah.
That's probably the reason he didn't fire Moyes last year, and the reason he didn't fire Allardyce in his last year. He likes to drain them down for their last year and get every drop of value. He doesn't like to pay people off without them being here. And I think if there's an opportunity for him to identify some good cheap players from maybe the German league or some of the other leagues around Europe. I think one of the other podcasts I mentioned, who I was watching, I think it was West Ham Fan TV. They said that one of the teams had identified a Union Berlin striker. I think it was Forest.
Yeah,
and
Forest,
bought him over for peanuts, right? And so, I've got to say, Forest had a terrible pair of transfer windows in my eyes. But there's kind of, one or two little bits of business that where they hadn't bought old has-beens, they've actually identified someone that we've never heard of, and they come in there to do a reasonable job.
Yeah.
And that is possibly, you said it yourself last season, Moyes does not do well bringing in expensive flair players.
No.
He does much better bringing in industrial players who he can turn into something a bit better.
But that's what I was going to allude to. This director of football, buy cheap, sell high, the actual type of player that he potentially brings in, unknowns, players wanting to prove themselves, those are the types of players we've said ourselves that Moyes loves working with, because he can mould them for that short time into the player he wants. Yeah. So, in effect, I agree with Gary. Potentially, Nick, I'm not saying you're wrong, just offering up a different opinion, but potentially this guy could bring in those unknowns that would enable Moyes to get his claws into them, if you like, and make them the players that he wants to
He could, but I think David Moyes has done that with a handful of players when he's been desperate and he's had to force players in. He needed a Dawson, he got Dawson in. If he starts if he starts being handed on top of the players and the core of players that he's already got, if we don't shift them all, if he starts being handed young, up-and-coming talent, like a lot of these players that have gone to Brentford, and Brighton and players like that, I don't think David Moyes, he's proven that he is not the player to develop. And he's done it with Bowen. He's done it with Bowen.
No, but
he's done it with Bowen.
Well,
that is it.
No, he brought in a lot of players from Championship. Ben Rama, he got the best out of Cresswell for a time, Antonio for a time. A lot of players that were industrial, which is the type of players he likes.
Yeah, but in terms of developing players, what I'm saying is Tim Steidman. The only way that you can work in an environment where you buy players low and sell them high is if you're in an environment where you can. It's an environment where these players can grow and build and stuff like that. And the only way they're going to do that is if they play, if they get game time and stuff like that. I don't think there is, like I said to you, and Bowen weren't a find. Bowen was the best player in the championship when we bought him.
Yeah.
No, but he still had something to prove. He was.
Oh, he did.
Unknown,
but we didn't find him. We didn't find him from fucking Aldershot, and you know, it weren't a Jamie Vardy signing.
No, a similar signing to Madison and Cresswell and people like that. Is
the best player in the championship.
And Antonio, right? And Antonio. So yeah.
But yeah, no, it is interesting. And like I say, that is my feeling on it. Anyway, it really is. I can't. We'll never know. We'll never know what it is. All I know is if you look at all that we do know is unless Sullivan has had a complete and utter reversal in the way that he wants to run things, which is something he's never done before, and he's gonna literally start trying to run things properly. If you truly believe that, if you think he's not going to make it a circus anymore, then I don't. I think there's something else to it. We know that they want to sell Gary. We know that he wants to sell.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that he's not going to run it like a circus. But I do believe there's something in the rumours that he wants to sell. I do, because it would be obviously beneficial for him to sell high. And what better time to sell West Ham than just after we've won a trophy? The last thing he'll be wanting. The thing that really scares me. I've said this a few times before. Is that we'll go into next season and it will be a replica of Sam Allardyce's last season. So it will be we will stay up. It'll be fine. He'll make a couple of signings to bolster the squad. It'll be completely unexciting, unenthralling. After Christmas, it'll be the most boring thing we've ever watched. It'll just be a non-entity of a season. And that's my fear. That's my fear. I hope it don't go like that.
No, that's fine. And what we'll do, we'll move on to the Declan Rice thing. We'll do that at the end before we open the phone lines.
So what about what Victor Sen is? Victor Sen says it, but is it right now that Sullivan doesn't make the decisions? It's all the board, as Sullivan is no longer the majority shareholder.
It could be. It could have been voted in, but he still has to. He would have to vote for it to be passed.
I wonder how, John. I wonder how because before it was known that wherever Sullivan voted, Gold would vote. Right, that was a given, and so that's why he continued to have the majority shareholding. Not in, he didn't, but he did in effect. And I think that's changed now. The Gold family have got hold of the shares because they're having more of a say. I wonder if they're following the same template or if they're actually, disagreeing with a few of his
doing their own thing,
maybe,
rather than going with it. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, the interesting thing will be, will be if there is that clause in Moyes' contract, which is what we all understand, I believe, is that he has final say on signings written into his contracts. That's what you understand, isn't it, Gary?
Well, I think that was when they extended his deal. When he kept us up and they gave him a new deal. I think that was it, right? He was given, and that's why I think Mark Noble, he got the sporting director role, but he was really, working for Moyes, and it was Moyes' idea to hire him, right?
Yeah.
This is going to potentially cause a lot of conflict if a director of football comes in and is suddenly announced as David Moyes' new boss.
Well, it depends. I mean, it is going to cause potentially a lot of problems because literally anyone else who's been brought in, whether it be Warburton, Noble, anyone brought in in any standpoint or any position in the club, if the rumours are to be believed, Moyes takes almost offence to it, doesn't he? He doesn't want anyone else involved.
Well, if you look at that, right? If you look at it, he's had 3 number 2s, if you like, in 3 years. They've all gone. So we had Alan Irvine, he left, citing the facts that he didn't want to travel back up north anymore. We've had similar from Stuart Pearce, where he left because he
wanted to concentrate on punditry.
Yeah, I know. But then we've had the same thing with Warburton now. I thought he spoke really well. I don't think he was being bitchy at all. No, I didn't think he was being bitchy at all. John.
Nick, can I say something? So you brought up to me that thing about Antonio the other week, right?
Yeah.
When he played
but he's left the club. He's left the club now. He can do what he wants.
I know. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when he's my friend. I don't want to fall out with my friend, but he did. But he's. I haven't heard Warburton speak since he's been in the role.
Well, for those who haven't seen the Warburton interview or read it, what did he say?
He's basically come out and said, look, to say he said he was basically what this does is this puts paid to the rumour that it was a Sullivan appointment and not David Moyes. They've known each other for donkey's years. he said that David Moyes approached him because he's got a different philosophy on football. And he said, I think that's why he brought me in, because it's someone to challenge me. However, there wasn't, he was challenging him. And he said, but the fact of the matter is it got to the point where I think I had to leave. I had to move on because it would have harmed our friendship if I hadn't have moved on. Because we know that there were loads of training ground bust-ups with the coaching staff. It was all reported. And we know that David Moyes doesn't like being challenged. We can see he only likes to play one way. So if you've got a guy like Warburton, John, who is an attacking coach, regardless what level he is and whether we want to sneer he's only done QPR, whatever else, the fact of the matter is he sees football one way. David Moyes sees it another way. Yeah. He probably, if you can't tell me that as frustrated as we get at watching that football, knowing the players that we've got, the players and the coaching staff must also get frustrated.
Yeah, listen, I'm not defending Moyes over Warburton, and I'm not digging out Warburton over that. The thing that's annoyed me is that I haven't heard Warburton speak to the camera of anybody since he's been at West Ham, and as soon as he's got the old sack, he's come out and said something. So it's like another criticism of the club and/or Moyes, right? But yes, you're right, because he was brought in at the time when those new types of flair players were brought in, when Moyes was supposedly trying to.
Apparently, they tried to transition to a new style. Did you ever see it?
No,
well, no, but this is what I don't understand. When did we actually see this new transition or style at any point?
There was no hint of us changing anything.
No, it didn't. He tried to use different players in the same.
I think it was different players. I think that's what Antonio was referring to. Using Scamacca rather than Antonio was us trying something different.
And going back to Sullivan, I don't think he's completely committed at the moment. I know he will always love a bit of effort for the.
You're a bit glitchy, Gary.
Oh, sorry, am I?
And someone, I can hear a fan. Someone got a fan on.
Shit.
Oh no, he's got a bad connection.
Right. I'm gonna log out.
Go on, he's gonna log out. Oh, bless him.
Listen. It's obvious that Warburton, whose philosophy is different to Moyes, was brought in because his philosophy was different to Moyes to try and change it up, to try and put us more on the front foot and play more attacking football. That's what we were promised. And when you bring Warburton in and you brought all those players in, we were excited as a fan base. Yeah. But it never materialised. So it does make me wonder what Warburton's role on a day-to-day basis consisted of. But
the thing is, if you're working in an environment, imagine it yourself.
I'm not slagging him off. I'm just saying.
I know, but imagine it yourself, right? You imagine you've been brought in to do a job. You've been brought in. You've been cherry picked because the way you see football, there's all these new players, and you get told we need. Oh, fuck me, there's two Garys.
No, get rid of the other one.
Stop it.
That was Wi-Fi, Gary. I'm on hardwired now.
And you get told that you're going to get listened to this, that, the other, and then all of a sudden things start going south. You're not being listened to. You can see that things could be changed and could be done differently. But just say, for instance, because it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility, John, you're going to the man and saying, try this. And he's like, no.
I'm not
doing it.
I totally agree with you, right? But if all this is on Moyes, like the whole everything, playing style, players unhappy, coaches coming and going unhappy, the fan base, the majority of unhappy, why has he got so much power? Has he got something over Sullivan that he literally can piss everybody off?
Because he's recruited everyone. He's been given ultimate power. He's recruits Warburton. He recruited fucking. He was also involved in Noble.
But how many mistakes can one man be allowed to make if he keeps appointing? If he appoints people that don't stick with him, or he can't use well, or he takes players on that he can't fit into his system. What is the point of it? It makes no sense to me.
Well, there is only one common denominator in this, and that is David Moyes in this scenario in terms of his coaching.
That's what I'm saying.
There's only one common denominator.
So how many, if it's true, which a lot of it may well be, as an employer, as Sullivan is, how has he constantly allowed Moyes to make mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake?
Because he's a fucking arsehole.
I think because he doesn't take any notice of that kind of stuff. That's just noise to him. And I think Sullivan, when he sets out at the beginning of a football season, his primary objective is to stay in the Premier League. And if we're going to stay in the Premier League, the manager stays because he's done a fabulous job, right? Doesn't matter how he stayed in the Premier League as long as we stayed in the Premier League. I mean, Sullivan, for what it's worth, he's Happy Hammerette said this earlier. He's floating around in a you know, $500,000 quid a week yacht with his new girlfriend at the moment. You know, it's going to be like the master bedroom. I don't know if you've seen it, Goldie master bedroom, but it's going to be like a crime scene at the end of it. You can get the fucking blue lights out, and there's going to be all David Sullivan juices everywhere, isn't there?
He's got the ball in his mouth.
Yeah.
He's swinging around the gaff.
I know, but it is, but like I say, it's when you think about it in retrospect, because we know how incompetent David Sullivan is. We all know this. We know that he lucked out with David Moyes when he came in the last time in terms of how well it went, because David Moyes was literally, he went back cap in hand because he couldn't get no one else to come in at the time.
Yeah,
he'd already got rid of him once, so he sort of lucked out with how well that has gone. And you've got to kind of know when to move on. And like I said to you, the heartbreaking thing for me is that I just hate the thought of having to reset and start again. You can, because it wouldn't be getting rid of a manager at the top. I know we spoke before about getting rid of David Moyes after he's won a trophy. That's different, because what you're doing is you're alluding to the fact that you're getting rid of a manager who's doing really well, but he can't take you to that next level. You've got to make a big decision there. This wasn't that. This is a manager that was failing miserably, but he won a cup in a one-off game.
Yeah,
that's what he did. He won a cup in a one-off game. That's different. That's different. You can't kind of eradicate the last 18 months and just think that by throwing more money at the problem that it's going to change. It ain't going to change anything.
But as I said at the time, the outcome of winning a trophy, which was fantastic, we all loved that moment. Of course,
it's subsided now, though.
No. But no one of right mind that I know who was Moyes out. I don't know many people that went, "Oh, let him stay now." There's a few. I've seen a few, but I can't understand.
I've seen a couple. Yeah, I've seen a couple. Right, but I can't understand that mentality where I said from the offset, like January, February, I want him to win the trophy and go out at the top. Don't ruin your legacy. What legacy? I'm repeating myself. I sound like a fucking record. I know I do. But the point is that don't let that one win cloud your judgment. And to me, Sullivan is just like, I said it earlier on, he's happy just staying in the Premier League, and the cup win was a complete bonus. He doesn't care if we're 17th every season. I truly believe that.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
That's all that matters to him. But I don't want that.
No, but likewise, John, what you're saying there, you can't judge it on one game. You can't go, I'm Moyes out. He's won that one-off game now, and Moyes in. Likewise, if you're supporting Moyes, because there was a lot of people that were saying that they were. Well, it was the other way around. They were Moyes in, but if we lose the final, that's it. He's got to go. And you're like, well, fucking hell, how does that work?
He didn't become a great manager through winning a one-off game, a cup final, which was obviously more down to Lucas Paquetá and Bowen than it was to Moyes. I mean, I don't think Moyes had any input in coaching Paquetá of how to do shit like that. You know what I mean?
It was a moment of magic. It was. And look. I don't want to downplay it. It was a massive point in our history, and I am still. You're talking to something, as you all know. I couldn't be any more Moyes out. But even I am grateful to him. He did play his part in that.
Yeah,
he did manage to galvanise and all the shit we had leading up to that final. Somehow he managed to pull it all together, and he put the team out, and the team went on to win. You've got to give him credit for that.
And we were all delighted for him and his old man and everything else. We loved it. It was a beautiful moment, but the moment has now passed. You know, and I think we're kind of back where we were. One game has not turned him into some sort of legend who plays football really well.
So Kate Figueroa says, I don't want Moyes, but we are stuck with him. So no point continuing to slag him off. We need to back him and the team now, regardless. Whilst I agree with you, I back him to some extent. I'm not going to suddenly gloss over it. And if we and when performances are poor, we're going to call him out on performances are poor. We hope that he gets it right, but you just can't foresee it at the minute, you know?
I think even Nick said at one point, you know, he said, you know, we're all open-minded, right? If David Moyes suddenly wakes up on Monday,
information, I'll change my mind.
Exactly. If David Moyes wakes up on Monday morning, he's suddenly inspired to bring in this new set of coaches who can sprinkle a bit of pixie dust onto West Ham and make us play an amazing, wonderful brand of football. I'll love David Moyes.
Yeah.
But I don't see it.
But just go on, John.
Just quickly though, do we think that you know, if this new director of football does come in and he gets to spend a big chunk of money and there's a new project in town, do we not think that they'll possibly give Moyes even more time? If you know what I mean.
Oh yeah,
like,
but I
just almost starting again.
I just don't see it happening. And like I say, I have got faith that well, look, it all depends how long it takes for gold shares to come out of probate and how long that sort of thing takes. I don't know. I don't know how long that's going to hold things up. But I do think that the sale is imminent. I do think that the fact that the way they've been structuring the club as of late has been better. They've been trying to make us look a lot more professional. They've been trying to clean things up. This director of football appointment is literally that is a big boy appointment, especially with the level of guy that we've brought in there. I just can't help but think, because look, I've had this confirmed. Look, you'll know before the end of the season. You know, I've done that show and we spoke about it, about David Moyes. I think it was the Arsenal game, and that was that David Moyes had basically there was talk of him going, talk of him being pushed out the door, and then there was a meeting. They were going to let him go. He basically said, you know, I want until the end of the season. I want to win this cup. And then basically what I've been told and what I've been informed is that David Moyes approached the squad, and I've had this confirmed as well. And he approached the squad and he said, look, I'm going at the end of the season. Let's pull all this together. Let's do this. Let's do this for yourselves. Do it for the fans. You know, we've come this far. Let's do it. Now, if that is the case and that has happened, right? And as we know now, there's an awful lot of players now that seem to be waiting to see what happened with David Moyes. If they have gone back on that, not just David Sullivan, but if David Moyes has gone back on that as well, if he's reneged on that, you know, used him as bait as I'm leaving in the summer, so you almost like you're playing for your new manager who's coming in. And then off the back of that, he should have walked away. I don't care what anyone says. He should have walked away with his head held high. He's not going to now. He's only gonna leave through failure. That's it.
Listen, let's get excited when the new director of football comes in, because to me, if he joins us, things are going to change. They might not change today, but I reckon you could see things change inside a couple of months.
Yeah. No. No, he could. This, like I said to you, this guy, this director of football, going back to what we were saying earlier on, this is a guy whose reputation will be very important to him. And that is, like we said earlier on, buying players low, selling them high. You can only sell them high if they're in an environment where they can develop and get better. If this guy is bringing these players in and he sees coaching that isn't doing anything for his team, if he sees a style of play, if he sees the way the manager is setting the team up as basically making him and his players look bad, he's not going to tolerate that. He's going to be like, no, he won't. You won't. You'll be like, no, I need to get another fucking manager in that can do the other part of the job. I'll get the players in. You need another manager that can.
You know what I think? You know what I think, right? I think we're going to hit the ground slowly again this year, because
100%.
he's going to make some signings. We're going to lose Deck. He's got to find another way, another method of doing things. He's got to find another method of doing things this year, and you know that doesn't happen quickly for him to get a team bedded down. So I reckon it could be like 10 games in, 12 games in, 15 games in, something like that. When he's moved on. I don't think it'll be half a season or Christmas or anything like that. I think it's got to me, it feels like a Ranieri kind of thing after the Lord Mayor's show. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's a comment here. I saw this as well from Hodgie, where it says it was said on Tommy's Late Show the other night that Steidman was a Moyes pick. What, a director of football, his own boss? No, not a fucking chance. Would he go out and get a guy with this CV? Because this, like I said, this isn't elite director of football. He wouldn't go out, and he definitely wouldn't be. He'd be highlighting someone like Warburton, who basically, do you know what? He's a type of guy. I think because I don't think he would surround himself with guys that are too impressive, because I think he likes being the main man. You know, there is not a chance in hell. And why would he? Why would he? You know, why would Tim Steidman tolerate being appointed by the manager?
Well, that's the thing. He wouldn't. He has a massive reputation, a great successful CV. He's not desperate to join West Ham. You know, he must see something. There must be a project that excites him here.
Sullivan, there's no way Sullivan convinced him to come. This is not a, because even if Sullivan got it was on advice. There is no way that Sullivan, with his track record and everything else and his reputation in football, has convinced Tim Steidman or whatever his fucking name is to actually come and work for us. There is no way. There is something,
especially
something bigger. Something bigger,
especially if he's been plucked away from Man United, who he was talking to recently. I mean, that would be a far more attractive proposition
well,
to take the job with 10
and Spurs and Chelsea. You know, all of these. He's been talking to them all. But anyway, look, let's move on from that. Anyway, we've done Tim Steidman. I suppose players going out, right? We'll leave the big one till the end. We won't go doing a graphic or anything like that. But let's sort of run through it. Gary, what's with first of all, which players do you think, from what you've read so far, which players are we at risk of losing, both either in body or in mind? Which players do you think want to leave now?
In body or in mind? Well, I reckon 3, and that's Scamacca, Antonio, and Souček. You think Souček will go? I think Souček will go.
Obviously, Rice, so that goes without saying.
Yeah. I consider he's already gone, right? He changed his Twitter profile from West Ham captain and just blanked it out, you know what I mean? So even though he is still West Ham captain officially, he's not on Twitter.
No, so that's Lanzini's gone as well. So that's 5 players.
Yeah.
How about yourself, John? Which players can you see?
Where did you get to 5 players then? Sorry, Lanzini,
Rice, Souček.
Who did you say?
Scamacca.
Oh, right, okay.
And who was the other one?
Antonio. I would love to see Scamacca stay, by the way. I'd love to see him have another season where we try to use him in a different way. I would love to see it. I believe in Scamacca, you know.
Yeah, I do. But I don't think Scamacca believes in Moyes. That's the problem.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen the link with which is quite disappointing, and I know Nick's not a massive fan of him. Doesn't see it possibly. Is Downs possibly linked with Southampton, which would really deflate?
I don't want him going. I'd rather keep Downs and get Ward-Prowse in.
I know you don't want him going, but I don't see why we have to use him as a tool to get anyone in from Southampton.
Because he wants him out. He clearly wants him out.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you. But if you're getting rid of a player like that who has been given no game time at all, he knows what it is to be a West Ham fan. He bleeds claret and blue, and it doesn't mean you get a pass. I'm not saying that means you get a pass. But he has obvious quality because we weren't the only one sniffing around him in the Championship, and he had fantastic stats. Yes, it's a step up, Premier League, but in the little bits I've seen of him, when he was played in his correct position, I liked what I saw.
He was about to sign for Vieira at Palace when we snuck in, if you remember. Yeah,
I know. I wish for him we hadn't have done it. I wish we'd have just let him
me too.
With his fucking career.
If you think about it, imagine being a West Ham fan, getting a chance to go to your boyhood club, and then literally being hardly used. You know, being.
But this is what I'm saying to you. So John, there is a perfect example that goes counter to what you and Gary were arguing for at the start, where you said David Moyes develops players from the Championship. What about Downs?
Yeah.
Well, he seems to have. Initially, he did that when he first came in. That was what he sort of did, right? But then what happened is that he had his favourites, or he had the players that had adapted to his style or did what he wanted, and he was just literally in fear.
He won't change it.
Trying anything different. Not even style, but almost changing personnel became such a bugbear of mine, because as much as Soufal has won me back now and he's won most of the fan base back over, we was calling for him to come out of the team for ages, right?
Yeah,
he did. Souček, we were calling him to come out of the team for ages, not because we dislike these players or hate these players, just for the sake of their career.
You can see they're not playing well. They're on their arses. And
I was the same with Antonio when he was getting fucking abused from fan base. You know, there comes a point when you have to see that someone's not performing and take them out of the firing line for not only your benefit but also for their benefit.
Is that not what a manager should do? Do you know, like if you've got a squad, you know, if a player is playing well, they keep their place. But the minute they drop off, then you've got a squad so that the other players that are pushing him can get their fucking chance.
I think he does develop players he can develop players from the Championship, and he can develop players into something else. You know, we've seen it before. We've seen it with what he'd done with Arnautovic. You know, Bowen has adapted really well. You know, Antonio has been turned into a striker, but he's got as many failures as he's got successes. And I think
not with players that he signed. I mean, players that he signed, Gary. There's one, Bowen.
Yeah, but I think his biggest downfall is he still likes to maintain this tiny little squad, and nobody can break into that tiny little squad. And that's why players who are not playing well keep their places, and players who are pushing, knocking at the door, never seem to get a chance. Like Downs, like you know, a bad example of Ings, but Cornet, for instance.
Yeah.
Well,
that's another one as well. What can you see? Sorry, John. Can you see Benny going? Because I'm seeing more and more stories about Benny getting linked away.
I'd be surprised. I think look how Benny at the start of the season, particularly, seemed to have gone, "Fuck you, Moyes. I'm doing this for the fans." I think Benny changed his philosophy of stopping to trying to please the manager. I don't think he sort of started playing for the manager, but not for playing for the manager's sake. It was more to show the fans, and that's why a lot of we were critical of him last season, before this season, and he won us all over the start of this season because he sort of said, "You know what, fuck it, I'm here to play for West Ham United, sod the manager," sort of thing. But then when he started losing form, you sort of saw the Moyes issues rear their ugly head again of the same substitutions, the same things. You're telling me that. Okay, Benny got substituted a lot, right, during the season. But you're telling me he deserved to be substituted more than Thomas Soucek all of the time? No, he didn't. So it didn't really make sense to me. And that's the shame for Benny. So I wouldn't like to see Benny go.
You could understand him wanting to go, though, couldn't you?
It came to a head in that, that Brentford away FA Cup game. It came to a head in that because the fans were singing Saïd Benrahma during the warm-up. And in the end, he came on the pitch and he scored the winner. And from that point on, he seemed to have forced his way into the team. He was a regular after that. Even when he played badly, he was a regular. And that is typical of the way Moyes does it. He gives them enough rope to hang themselves. I think Benrahma's a proper. Benrahma is a typical West Ham player. He's flashes of brilliance, not consistent.
I think it would be bonkers now because we've had him for 3 years and he's just clicked into gear.
Yeah.
So why would you let him go now? I mean, that just seems fucking.
What about that link? I've seen that link in various places about Bowen linked with Spurs. I mean, it can't be true, can it?
I'll say, do you know what that stems from? That stems from an article that was written by David Ornstein in The Athletic, where he was doing a piece on Spurs and talking about the players that they could potentially go for. And apparently Bowen has been on their list for a long time. Probably back from when he was in the Championship. It doesn't mean it's a live bit of interest. It doesn't mean that, and there's no way we would sell to them anyway. That's never.
No, I think also you know what I'm quite wary of, and it's our job, if that's what the word is, to report rumours and things like that. But I did say to you last week, Nick, a lot of the journalism is fucking lazy journalism. Which is why we get linked with the same players every year, not because there's a real link, because they just regurgitate the same old fucking dross. Because as soon as the window opens, there needs to be 70 bloody transfers.
What about this one here with Pablo Fornals? Because look, as we know, Pablo Fornals didn't get much game time last season. He didn't get a lot, and we saw how deeply that did affect him. We've also seen there are rumours now that he's asked. Not false, because I don't think he's that type of character. But there's rumours that he wants to go, that he's kind of for his own career he wants to leave. Now look, I think he's the type of guy that if we said no, you're not going, we need you to stay, I think he'll just stay and he'll play. But what do you feel about Fornals? Would you want to see that again with Fornals if he's just going to be a bit part player, or do you think, do you know what, I'd rather him go and get on with his career because it ain't fair on him?
Selfishly, I'd always want him to stay because I think he's great. But you can totally understand if he wanted to go. In the current climate, though, look, we can't afford to let anybody go because obviously it goes without saying because losing Rice, as we probably will, is going to create a big hole. So you're going to need the squad more than ever to stand up and be counted. But the problem is the squad doesn't get used in the correct manner. And this is always going to be the problem. It doesn't matter who we bring in, who we try and bring in to replace Rice, who we keep happy, Benny and Fornals, keep them sweet, keep them on board. But if he continues to treat them the same way, then what is the point? Exactly. What is the point?
I feel sorry for Pablo. And if he does want, I'd love to keep him because I think if another manager comes in, and I think another manager will come in not too distant future, I think they'll make use of Pablo if they're the right kind of football ball playing manager. But having said that, if he's down in the dumps, can't get his motivation, depressed because he's just a bit part player in the Moyes setup, I think he deserves a move.
Just change the subject really quickly, boys. So I don't know if it's just me, But has anyone got a fan running? Because I can keep hearing
I've
it.
got
It's Gary when he talks.
Is it my air conditioner?
It might be, mate. Yeah, it seems to be something I can hear. Sorry.
And just very quickly, Anthony Watson said
here.
further back. I won't say that off the screen. He said, "Have we defo got this geezer yet?" Now, look, this story was broken almost 2 weeks ago by Fabrizio Romano. I didn't really take too much notice of it. I know X got a bit sensitive about it, came out and poo-pooed it and stuff like that because they like to be the first to break news. But the fact of the matter is, I've been told over the last 2 days, one by a very, very good source, not Sean Whetstone, by the way, a very good source.
You said a very good source.
Yeah, that apparently this has been done since around about that time. So what we don't know is why it hasn't been announced yet. So when Fabrizio did tweet that, apparently it was a done deal. It was a done deal then. He's been on board. I don't know whether there's some internal politics, whether this appointment has caused a few problems and they've had to sort of work out how they're going to do things on a PR level to avoid upsetting certain people. I don't know. But it is a bit strange if he's been appointed for that long and he hasn't been announced yet. But look, we know he's coming. Everyone's talking about it. We know that he's there. And what you would like to think is that this guy really, look, he's a director of football he's only been out of the game since it's
March
3 months.
23. Yeah.
It's 3 months. He's not been in the game, but he's still got his vast fucking database and knowledge of players and this, that, the other. He will have done all of his homework in the period that he's been talking to West Ham. He will already know more about because of the way that he's data driven, more about these players in this club than probably David Moyes. He'll know what we need, and he'll have some targets in mind, 100% from the time that we come in. And I think a director of football, if you're talking Rice going for 100 million on top of our other pot, just say he's got 150 million to spend. Somebody that knows how to spend money, that is a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah. Massive.
That's a lot. That's a lot of money.
He wouldn't be able to spend it if he shops in. If he shops where we are told that he shops in that sort of that sort of lower echelons of the German leagues or whatever you want to call it. He ain't gonna spend 400 million anytime soon. He's probably...
No.
That won't be the way he works, is it? Will it really?
No. But I mean, he don't just buy players from like unknowns. He buys players that have kind of. It's like Diaby who he got in from what's his name, Moussa Diaby, who he got in from for Leverkusen from, and I think he got in from PSG. So
it's basically for someone
13 million it was, but he weren't being used at PSG. But he signed him, brought him in, and he's been a revelation.
30 million, but 30 million is whether they're unknown or not. The price, I'm talking about the price tag, 13 million is peanuts, isn't it? It's nothing.
Yeah.
Not so much unknowns, but price tags.
It's taking someone in who's used to working. It's basically the Red Bull model, right? That is the Red Bull model, and so and the Red Bull model or the Moneyball model dictates that it ain't about age. It ain't about buying someone. Part of it is buying a young player and being able to get them low and sell them high. But another part of that model is to buy someone, experienced who can do the job for not much money.
No, that's it. But have you also read the other bit as well, where this guy does get involved with training setups as well? So because he's massive on player development, he likes to make sure that there is a sufficient setup in place to develop the players that he's bringing in and develop youth academy players as well. He's big on youth players. He's going to be working with Noble, who's obviously going to be the head of that. But he's huge on that. He likes to.
Perhaps he could look after the players that Moyes doesn't tell to.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
after the squad.
Maybe. Apparently, he's a very infectious character. So I'm hoping that, say for instance, he's not Moyes. Yeah, that's just infectious in a different way. But apparently, he's he might come in. He might be able to get hold of someone like Schumacher before it's too late, and put his arm around him and say, "Look, we're going places now." He's an impressive appointment. He's kind of a big deal, as they say. Well, right, let's talk about the other one, the big one.
Hang on, can I just interject?
Go on.
Right, this huge 77.
He's like a gerbil.
You're like a little gerbil. Keep on nibbling. I have a few.
You've been eating during the podcast again, John.
People keep having a go at me for nibbling, right? When you have a beer, you have to have peanuts and crisps. It's the rules. Anyone who goes in the pub and orders a pint of lager without a pack of snacks, get out my pub.
And it's in John's nature as well. Now he knows it pisses a few people off. He ain't going to stop doing it. So
you trying to have a wind-up merchant?
Yeah. But look, anyway, the other one. This was a bit of a. It shouldn't be a shock, but it was a shock because with all the other stuff going on, you know, with Declan Rice, we know he's going. Lanzini going at the end of June, and obviously Fornals. The rumours around Fornals as well. So in terms of Flair is quickly disappearing from this squad. We're like, oh no, we've got Paqueta. We've still got Paqueta though. Well, as we know, as we've read just recently, he has changed his agents coming into this window. He's changed his agents, similar to what Scamacca did as well. Obviously, the agent that managed to broker the deal to West Ham, he's changed his agent. We know that Newcastle were circling for the Maddison deal. They wanted Maddison. He's going to Spurs. That's all but done. And I've actually gone onto a Newcastle forum, and there is a Newcastle version of X. There's an ITK on there, and there's all these other rumours, quite convincing as well, saying that 100% Newcastle are weighing up a club record bid for Lucas Paqueta. They want to come in and get him. Talking of upwards of 80 million for Lucas Paqueta, which is a great. When you think about it, I don't want to sell him, but if we got him for 50 and you sell him for 80, I suppose from a club perspective, it's a good deal. But could you imagine us losing him as well? And if you're Lucas Paqueta, right, fair enough, they might turn around and say, no, you're not having him. We can't sell him in this window. But you can't tell me for 1 minute that Lucas Paqueta isn't going to want that move.
Well, he might want it, but he ain't going to get it. He's under a 5-year deal, and this will be the second year of his deal. So he's just started to show what a good player he is. I think he's going to play a bigger part in the team next year without Rice. He's going to be worth a lot more next year than I said it a few weeks ago. He'll be the next £100 million player.
I think he will.
Yeah. We'll get more for him next summer. If he has a season, you imagine he carries on where he's left off. My God.
I think you're right. Well, I was just going to say what you said, really. Next season with Rice going, we're not going to get in a player of Rice's name tag. We're not going to get in a player of his ilk. We might have to get 2 or 3 in. So Paqueta next season will probably potentially be our main man, right? Yeah. The onus will be on him to get us up the pitch and get us going and transition quick and all that. So next season, he's going to have a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He's really going to have to step up even more so. And I think he can do it. The only thing
are you worried? Sorry, so before you carry on, are you not worried that he's going to struggle to replicate and build on the form that he showed without Declan Rice in that midfield if we don't recruit properly?
Of course, because not being horrible, Nick, anybody that plays alongside someone like Rice will always get better and be better because they have confidence in it. Yeah, apart from Soucek, but no one had confidence in him, though, did they? Yeah. But you play alongside Rice, you've got ultimate confidence in giving him the ball. You've got confidence in going forward and being a bit risky because you know you've got Rice behind you who can read the game like a book. So there will be that. And he probably will frustrate more next season than this season gone by because without Rice there. But we have to allow him to be a bit, off the leash next season, even more so. We have to allow for some of these flicks and tricks. And don't get me wrong, they piss me off at times because I'm like, oh, for God's sake. But it's part of his game. And if you take that out of him, you're taking a big chunk of what he's about. The only thing I was just going to say about the interest from Newcastle is you got to think of the Brazilian factor.
Guimarães
him and Guimarães are big mates.
He's on fucking holiday with him, fishing at the moment.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're big friends. They're big pals. But it does worry me a little bit. Maybe not this season, but I could see it if Paqueta takes off more this season coming. I could see it being a very real interest.
Oh yeah, look, let's not underestimate. Let's not underestimate it. He's a starter for the Brazilian team. The coach loves him. He is building his reputation. He's building his reputation over here. That I don't think there's any way we hold on to a player like that beyond next season. But this is where that's a great bit of business, and we can move him on. He's not one of our own. Like Rice has been bought through and everything else. Yeah. We can move him on, take the profit, reinvest in more players as long as we can do that and get this machine turning. That's our Spurs when they had their purple period, their purple patch. They spent the Gareth Bale money on a bunch of new players. Some of them worked, some of them didn't, but over time a lot of them worked. And that's how they ended up, playing. They were in Champions League quite a lot. They are reinvesting that money and also spending money from the from the stadium, wasn't it? From the increased ticket prices, but it was mainly come from sales. Spurs are quite good at selling high, aren't they?
Yeah, and listen, with Paqueta, I don't think we've got as much of a risk there. Like they say, we're a bad selling club because look, I'm not being funny. If you are going to be a good selling club and you buy a player for 50 million, and look, listen, he had a good season and he was a reason why we won that cup, but it was only half a good season. and it was as good as it was bad, and he's potentially fucking world class, but he hasn't quite hit those heights yet. If you can buy someone for 50 million and sell them for 80 in a year, then you do. But what I will say about Paqueta is I don't think it's that much of a risk to keep him, because I can't ever see his value plummeting. No. We might not get 80 if he doesn't have another good season. We might not get 80 for him, but he's never going to be a 20 million pound player, is he?
No, he's not.
He's always going to have some value there.
You know, class when you see it, and I think everyone can see that he's a bit of class. You know, I think there was a few people early in the season writing him off, which I found quite comical. You know, we could see he was just trying things, and we didn't know that those things were going to start coming off, but they did start coming off, didn't they? And he's just got better amazing. And better. Yeah, he's
amazing. But as John said earlier on, I think to set him free, which you do need to do, because let's not be funny. With Lucas Paqueta, he is a little bit like one of those players. He comes in and out of games. I know he can be combative. I know he can go and make a good challenge. Yeah. Also, he can be seen drifting around the fucking pitch at times as well. He can be a little bit. He's one of those players. He does. No. But what I'm saying is, I think with Paqueta, I think you do need to allow him, because I think that's how he finds space, John. I think he ghosts into space, and that's how he finds it. What? You know, that's how he found space for that pass in the final. Yeah. But I think we've got to reinforce behind him. You've got to basically get two solid players behind him so that he can make mistakes. Yeah. You know, he needs to be able to make mistakes. Yeah.
What I was referring to off the leash was not letting him, not allowing him to just drift around and do what he wants. It was more the flicks and tricks side of thing, right? But I would disagree. I would disagree with you in terms of the just sort of strolling around sort of thing.
I think sometimes he does. Sometimes he does. But
sometimes the best footballers, Nick, don't move. What I mean by that is, sometimes everyone's gun-ho on the pitch, and sometimes a footballer will just hold his ground and maybe sometimes take a step back and create that bit of space.
100%. You're 100%, and you're exactly right. We've all watched Messi, and that is not a criticism. That is how Paqueta plays, and it's worth allowing him the time to do that. But you need to have the pitfalls from that is you need movement and bodies and 100% commitment in central midfield. He's going to need that behind him, supporting him.
But obviously agree. But what I was going to say is the fact that the thing that really filled a lot of West Ham fans with joy and surprise to some extent in the latter part of the season was the way that the guy puts his foot in. He has a little bit of steely aggression that we love alongside the flair. He will only get better at West Ham. And unfortunately, it will be maybe 1 year, 2 years that he'll probably be sold on. You know,
he won't be here forever. We know that.
Yeah, he ain't going to be here forever, and we have to accept that early doors. There's not being negative, but that's what we are.
I'm fine with that, though, John. I'm fine with that. You know, as long as we buy these players, you know, we've been critical of the club for holding on to players for too long and never getting a resale value out of them, and that's not the way to grow, is it? You need to get resale value.
Well, but there comes an element of there will become. I mean, Brighton are at a turning point now because obviously they've qualified for Europe, and there will. You know, I know they've sold McAllister to Liverpool, and it looks like Caicedo's probably going to Everton because Arsenal have missed out. Wankers. I just think that there would always become a point when you can't keep being a selling club, no matter how tempting it is.
You can't.
They've missed out to Everton. They've missed out to Everton. Don't you mean Chelsea?
Chelsea, did I say Everton?
Sorry,
I don't know why I said Everton. But just quickly, someone must have seen Nick play because they've referred to him as Jan Mulby, never moved out of the centre circle. That was exactly how Nick played, never moved out of the centre circle.
But you know, we've spoken about this before, and we've spoken about kind of the Brighton model, which is sort of buying and selling and stuff like that. And do you know something? What I will say, it's probably one thing that David Sullivan does that I don't disagree with. I know he keeps players for too long. He keeps like bad players that he should sell on, but he also tries to keep on to our good players as well. And you know something? I think that is a lot with West Ham. That's part of what we are. I think I don't want to see different players every year. We're like a family at our club, and the players become part of that family. I don't want a player coming in for a year and then they're fucking gone again. You want the players to be part of the team. Do you know what I mean? I don't want a constant conveyor belt of players all the time.
I agree. That wouldn't suit West Ham. That wouldn't suit West Ham doing that. But there needs to be a middle ground. There needs to be a middle ground where we get a decent amount of use out of a player and then we sell them at the right time. Certain players we want to stay for longer, but I don't want to ever be Brighton or Brentford. You know, they are small time clubs. compared to us. I mean, yeah, they've been successful the last couple of seasons, but let's not confuse things. They're smaller than us, and we need to. We do have this special relationship with our players. We do, and and you can see it with Rice, and you can see it with all the players that won that cup. Generally, and you can see it around the stadium over there. You can see like Marlon Harewood turning up to watch the game, sitting with the fans. Ginge, Tony Gow, all of the other, Ian Bishop, everybody else. We take these players in and they become part of the family, and Rufus, they stay, right?
Rufus Brevitt.
Rufus, but again, they sort of come in and they become like
games.
I know, but they come in, they become liked, they become a little cult hero, like Carlton Cole. Players who have gone elsewhere and had massive success, like Joey Cole, and then they come back because they never really leave. That'll be the same for Declan Rice, right? This is the way we are with players. We're a family, and other clubs don't realise that. For Arsenal, for instance, they look at legends as people who have got a load of fucking trophies, a load of medals. We don't care.
Yeah, talking about Arsenal, the mugs, eh?
Yeah, no. I'll tell you what. Right, let's move on
this week.
Right, last topic before we open the phone lines, because this should get you all going. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna hand over to someone else to drive this topic. Gary or John, do you want to take Declan Rice just to get us warmed up?
I've just got to go somewhere. One second, because a storm is happening.
I'll do it.
Gary, go on.
Yeah, so look, I mean, it's been annoying over the last couple of weeks with Arsenal, isn't it? I mean, they started off being nice to us, and I'm talking specifically about not even going to use his name.
Gary,
right?
Just turn your aircon off for a minute while you're doing this, please, and turn it back on. Go on.
I'm not even going to use the guy's name, the guy on AFTV, but the host, the chunky one who hosts it. He was on. He was on with Nicky Hawkins a few weeks ago after we won the cup, and he was talking in really patronising ways about, I'm really pleased for West Ham to experience winning a cup, right? And then we have the Rice fallout, as it's been, because they thought that they'd agreed, their friends in the media had agreed the fee over the summer, and all that to do was put a bid in, and that was it. We'd just accept the bid and roll over, because they're the mighty Arsenal and we're the little tiny West Ham, right? And when we stuck to our guns, and I'm pleased that Sullivan did this, he's knocked back two bids as derisory. Well done, good. That's what we should do, because he's a player who's going to be the future England captain, who, if you want him, you got to pay for him, Arsenal. You ain't going to just get him for a cut price deal. And then they started going on the attack in the media, and the same Robbie, who was patronising with us about how well we did, started saying to some other clown on one of the YouTube shows that we were celebrating like we'd won 2 Champions Leagues. Right? I mean, no, that's just us celebrating, Robbie. Arsenal don't know how to celebrate. They've forgotten how to celebrate. In fact, they never knew how to celebrate, right? That is just us celebrate. We celebrate anything.
We like a party.
We love a party. I mean, we beat Arsenal the other week. Brilliant. You go back to Di Canio turning Arsenal inside out, Keown inside out, and slightly in the top corner. You look at the playoff semi-final. You look at the time we lost 4-0 in the semi-final of the FA Cup to Nottingham Forest. We love a party. We get excited. Yeah. That's what football's all about, right? That's what it's about. If it doesn't excite you, don't watch it. You're there. Those people only watch football so they can boast their little mates how many trophies they've got and that they're in the Champions League, right? They're not real supporters in my mind.
No.
I don't feel it like we do.
But it goes back to what I said before, Gary, where we are born into it. We're born into our club. We didn't choose it. I think Arsenal, their fan base, is full of a lot of people that picked Arsenal because they're fucking good. They wanted to win.
Exactly.
They're
because of the Wenger years.
Yeah, they're glory hunters, and what they've done is they've backed the wrong fucking horse, which is why they're so deluded and pissed off all the time, because they've backed a club from the point where they're not. They are the bottom of the pile of the big clubs. Yeah, they're the whipping boys. When they go into the Champions League, they've been in it 19 fucking times. They've never won it. They're just there. They just participate. They are. They're the fucking. They're the Southampton of the Champions League. That's what they are.
Yeah. But they've never seen a celebration like it, because they've never done a celebration like it. Let's face it, their ground's quiet. Look, we've got no success. We fill a 62,000 seater stadium bigger than theirs every week with no success, right? Yeah. We sell out every away game. We sell out some dodgy little fucking first round game in the Conference League in Denmark. We follow our club because we want to follow our club. We don't. There's no kind of trade-off. It's no like we're going to follow you if you give us trophies in return. It's because we love our club.
Listen. This is what a joke Arsenal became as a club. In the last years under Wenger, the fans celebrated finishing fourth more than anything else.
Yeah.
And
so they could participate again in the Champions League.
To be another also ran. You know, they're constantly the 250 to 1 shot in the Grand National that's there every year and hasn't got a fucking chance of winning the Champions League. And let me tell you something, right? Last year was Arsenal's big opportunity to do something, and they bottled it. This season coming, at this moment in time, potentially Arsenal are a worse off squad and/or team than they were last season because they're losing Granit Xhaka. There's rumours that Thomas Partey is going to go to Juventus because of his off the field antics. Eddie Nketiah, I think he's out of contract or is not happy as well. You know, they're not what they think they are. They truly believe they've arrived the game, right?
Yeah.
And with all due respect to Declan Rice, because we're going to talk about him in a minute, but even if they get Declan Rice on board, they're still a million years behind City and all the others that are going to come strong, in my humble opinion.
And look, there was a time early in the life of this Premier League when it was first came about where a few select clubs like Arsenal, Man United, to an extent Tottenham, but Liverpool, you know, Chelsea, those clubs, they basically held all the balls, right? Those guys had all the money. They were in the Champions League every year, so therefore they got the money, more money than everybody else every bloody year, right? And over a period of time, it's kind of leveled out. So even the bottom clubs now are making big signings. So Arsenal, you're never going to go back to that stage where you can go unbeaten in a season with the so-called invincibles, right? You know, all right, they were invincible. They didn't lose a game. But the fact is, you could afford the best players from around Europe, nick who you like, right? If you can't do it in that situation, you can't do it anytime.
Well, these Arsenal fans won't accept now.
It's never going back there. It's never going back there, Nick. They're never going to hold all the cards again.
What I'm saying is, they're not going to accept not trying to challenge for that fucking title.
No, they're not.
Next year, with Champions League, they're going to find it so fucking difficult because Man City is still going to be up there. They're still going to win it. Man United are going to get stronger with Ten Hag. Chelsea are going to be better with Poch. You've got Liverpool are always going to be there or thereabouts, and now you've got Newcastle. I am sorry if they have a dip. Say their dip is 4th or 5th. How long will it take for it to be fucking Arteta, who's the new fucking god? How long will it take for them to turn him and for them to be Arteta out, even if they're playing good football?
Mate, a lot of them didn't believe the process when Arteta first come in. No. It wasn't all, you know, it wasn't all smelling the roses from the offset because a lot of them were calling for him to be given the chop quite early on. Just quickly here, I think across the pond sports talk, I think you might be an Arsenal fan, which is fine. You can watch it. No problem.
They're saying about all Arsenal fans.
We're reacting to, and there's a lot of them, right? So that video, there's a little clip.
If it sounded like that.
But there's a clip. But there's a clip and there's a short that we reacted to ourselves, right? Where the guys come out, Arsenal Lee, I think his name is, he's come out, you know, fucking absolute idiot. West Ham is shit. They're crap. They're this, that, the other. And then he went on to say later on, you're a nothing club. Yeah. So it was so fucking insulting, the tone that he took.
Was that an idiot was talking to Nicky Hawkins the other day?
Yeah, I'm saying, it was that show. Yeah. And that video, Gary, that went on Arsenal fan TV. This is why it isn't all Arsenal fans, but there's a lot of this fucking thing. This video with him saying that. Got thousands of likes from Arsenal fans, and there's loads in the comments that do disagree with him. So I am sorry. I know not all Arsenal fans are like that. A lot of them are decent, they're respectful, but you've got more than your fair share of fucking arseholes now. And as a fan base, as a club, you are becoming. You're tipping. I know there are decent fans there. Yeah. I've always hated fucking Spurs. But this season, it's been coming. They have tipped the scales. They've tipped the scales. No, they've tipped the scales. Yeah. They've wiped the floor with Spurs.
You lot could never understand why I hated Arsenal so much.
No, the level of arrogance is unbelievable. I mean, and that bloke,
one fucking good season.
Yeah, and that bloke who slagged us off. I mean, look, he's unable to string together a sort of coherent sentence. So he tried the shock jock value instead and tried to just West Ham as shit, bruv. You know what I'm saying? Oh, fuck off. You know, grow up, you prick.
You got two types of Arsenal fan. You've got the Mandem. You got the Mandem fans, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got the Where's Wally Brigade who are eating their lentils at half time. The real Arsenal fan base, I think, is disintegrating from going over there. The real Arsenal fan base, they turn their nose up at AFTV as we do and laugh at it and actually quite embarrassed about it. And look, Look,
and I used to like Arsenal. This is the shit thing. A couple of years ago, I liked them.
Yeah, but Gary, I do think that Robbie from Arsenal Fan TV does literally cherry pick the biggest fucking
he does
idiots
because it's for clicks, right?
They're like actors. He does. He finds the most outrageous people that he can to put on that channel.
I think
it's probably not representative of the entire fan base, but
but then perhaps the fan base should do something about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'm right, I think Robbie Lyle started life as a Luton fan anyway. But
did he?
I believe so.
That would be funny, wouldn't it?
I've read a couple of years ago that he started life as a Luton Town fan. So he's probably got split loyalties now because obviously Luton Town have been promoted.
Well, he fits in that category that you were saying then, John, where he chose to support Arsenal in the Wenger years.
100%, mate. Listen, they had massive success in Arsene Wenger's early to mid years at the club. They were a good side. I respected them. Arsene Wenger, good manager, great manager, won a lot of things.
And we all enjoyed watching that team. We all enjoyed watching that team. We love watching Thierry Henry and everybody else. Great times, right?
Look, we've got to take some phone calls. So we've done bashing Arsenal. We know they're wankers. Yeah. All right. So we know they are. So look, but Declan Rice, we know. Look, the rumor is, and this is the thing, it is a rumor. Now there's two. John's going to give his thoughts on this in a minute. But the rumor is, and it's come out and it's been run in 6'2" with Sean Whetstone, Claret and Hugh. There's also been a piece in the Athletic as well, where they've come out and they've said that Declan Rice's camp have basically been.
I took it that way as well.
Yeah, but they're mitigating. They're mitigating other clubs coming in and challenging Arsenal. They're basically saying that they're intercepting them and saying there's no point bidding because he won't come. He won't leave London. He only wants to go to Arsenal. Now, there's a lot of news vendors out there that are running with that story. And with a player the level of Declan Rice, it's a bit weird that there isn't a fucking massive all-out bidding war. City ain't even put a bid in yet. That's just talk. That ain't even happened, right? So it's still just Arsenal. And we've gone back out there now and we've asked Arsenal to submit a third bid. Yeah. So that's what's happened. I think. But what I'm saying is, if that is what's happened, and this is what people are getting the ump with, right? Because what they've done is, if Declan Rice's camp have done that, his dad and whoever else they've got have done that, then they've tied our hands at the negotiating table. They've not done us any fucking favours at all. And that, I am sorry, I know people are calling him a very bad word. I don't disagree with it if that is the case.
Yeah.
Whoa. Hang on. No bullshit, Nick. Because
I don't know. No, John. If he's done that, I can't disagree with it because.
Who's he?
It's his dad, John. It's his dad.
Yeah. But you can't put words you can't put words in Dec's mouth. I agree with John on this. You can't put words in Dec's mouth, right? Nobody knows what Dec's feeling is about it.
This is the case. And we don't know
what the dynamic is. We don't even know the dynamic between him and his dad, right? Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? So Nick, I think it's a bit too early to say that. If something comes out and it's factual and it says Dec did this and he forced the move and we end up losing money.
Yeah, but Gary, that's what I said. If he has been proven to have done that, then I'm sorry, it's a dick move.
Yeah, but what I'll say is I'll have comments to say about that at the time when I find out. I'm not going to say anything now.
No. But that's what everyone is reacting to because that is a story that's being run. That is what everyone's running at the moment, and that's obviously we know that, for instance, Claret and Hugh and Sean Whetstone, they're linked with the board, so that could be the story that the board are trying to peddle out to demonise Dec. It could be. It could be that, we know that they're not averse to doing things like that. So, but at the end of the day, thinking about this logically, right? If Declan Rice wants to leave us because he wants trophies and he wants Champions League and he wants to be playing on the biggest stage, John, can you get it through your fucking head, like in Declan Rice's head? Now, what I'm saying is, can you understand why you would choose Arsenal over Man City?
No.
And Pep Guardiola.
I've said this, and I'm not defending if he goes to Arsenal at all, right? Of course, the obvious team to go to if you want to win trophies, because they would win something, at least one thing, every season, is Man City, right? I detest Arsenal. I cannot stand Arsenal purely for family reasons. But in the last couple of weeks, with all the clips we've seen and all the arrogance from the Arsenal fans who actually questioned he's actually worth any value at all for quite some time, right?
That's the worst thing, isn't it?
That's the worst thing about it. But now they're saying, just go out and buy him, just pay the money, like show a bit of intent, So they're hypocrites. But the thing is that I don't get it. If he goes to Arsenal, I can't ever envisage why he would choose them over Man City, right? If he wants to stay in London, I agree. it's a little bit of a weak excuse because Manchester ain't like going to Afghanistan. It's an hour and a half up, 2 hours up the road or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Right. And even Harry Kane a couple of years ago, when he was possibly looking to leave Spurs, he loves the South. He was looking to go to Manchester City. Yeah. So I'm not so sure that I believe that I believe he may have spoken to Arteta. I believe that the club have shown an interest. He's shown an interest in going there, which is why the offers have come in. But what baffles me is that the fan base at West Ham are quickly turning their nose at a lot, not all. Some of the fans at West Ham are really coming out with some really condescending comments about Rice. Now, at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, he does have the choice to go where he wants to go. We can't tell him where he wants to go. We may not have our likes of Arsenal. I mean, I can't stand Arsenal, as I said, but I pray that he goes to City. I pray that City come in for him because I don't want his name to be slandered through the fan base like it will.
And just apart from anything else, imagine the arrogance from Arsenal fans if he chooses Man City over. If he chooses Arsenal over Man City, can you imagine it? It's going to be fucking unbearable.
It is what it is.
I'm a little bit with Mr. Mace on this. I've been tracking the comments, and Mr. Mace has basically said, look, if he leaves, he leaves. Who gives a fuck where he goes after that? And the fact of the matter is, I do agree to a level. I mean, if he was to go to Man City, I probably, it wouldn't hurt so much. I probably would still.
No, it wouldn't.
I would still, follow him and take a little bit of an interest in how he's doing, apart from when they're playing West Ham, because we're never likely to be competing with City anytime soon, anyway, are we? So it's not like it's a big deal. But if I will be honest, if he goes to Arsenal, as much as he's done for us and everything else, he's kind of dead to me as a player at that point. I won't follow him. I won't give a fuck what he does. I won't want him to win anything there, Gary. I won't want him to succeed. I want Arsenal to do well. I really won't. That'll be it for me with him. I'll be skipping this fucking thing.
It'll be similar to when Joey Cole went to Chelsea. Similar to when Joey Cole went to Chelsea. I didn't want to see him win anything at Chelsea, but obviously I wanted to see him do well for England.
Turn that fan off.
I wanted to see him do well for England, and I think that's the same situation with Declan Rice because I think he's going to end up being the England captain if he carries on.
He will be England captain, 100%. I believe this. Yeah. Just quickly, Jonathan's got a good point here. He has the right to go where he wants, but we also have the right to accept or not accept the bid. Hold on to him. I agree with this.
Jonathan, no, 1 minute. John, no, 1 second. Jonathan, he has the right to go where he wants. He does not have the right to go out to other clubs and say, don't bid because I'm only going to one club and I don't want them being challenged. Right. So basically, they can. No.
Yes, we don't know that's been said. But Jonathan's right, Nick. And I said this to you the other day. At the end of the day, if the offer isn't met from Arsenal, we have we don't have to sell him. The only reason they'll hold on to him is to not miss out on that transfer fee. But to me, I would, and you've said it before, you'd rather lose him on a free.
I actually would. I'd rather get now rather than go to Arsenal. I'd happily just fucking keep him now and just let him walk for free in a couple of years.
Do you think if we said to him, "Look, you're not going to Arsenal. They haven't met our valuation." Do you think if he had to stay for another season, do you think he would down tools, or do you think he'd still play?
No, he'd still play. It's still
play. Down tools.
Yeah,
it's not.
So, Danny Murphy advised that, didn't he?
Yes, someone said that in the chat. So go on, Gary. Tell us what Danny Murphy said on
Danny Murphy on TalkSport. He said if West Ham don't pull their finger out and help Deck move to Arsenal, he should go on strike. Like what are you on about, Murphy?
What he said, he sort of said that, but he said what happens is there comes a point where the only way that Rice will get his move if the club aren't willing to budge on the transfer is that. Would someone like Rice go on strike? He was saying, "Do you think he has Do you think he has the balls to go on strike?" I don't think Rice does. I don't think he's that type of bloke. He wouldn't do it to the fan base. But it's all hypothetical at the minute. I truly believe.
He was alluding to that though. He was alluding to that though, John. He said, "Has he got the bottle to do that?" What he was saying was, if we refuse his move, has he got the bottle to force the move through?
Yeah, he's not saying he should. He's saying, "Do you think he's the type of character that would do that?" Yeah. I don't think Rice would do that. But the thing is, what I'm saying is I truly believe that I cannot envisage that if Manchester City came in for you, because we're led to believe they haven't actually made the bid yet. So say they made the bid and they came in with the money that the club wanted and they went, "Look, Declan, City have offered the money. We're willing to let you go there." Is he really going to say no to Pep? I mean, I was listening to someone on TalkSport today, and they came up with a counter argument. They said,
"I fucking dribbled."
No. They didn't say.
No,
They didn't say you. Oh,
I've dribbled.
I don't know. That wasn't
not
talking about
surprising.
you. But they said this is a different way of looking at it, right? I'm not saying it's right. It's a different way of looking at it. He's looking at City, who've just won the treble. He can go there, and he will never, he'll never top winning the treble at City, right? Or he can go to Arsenal and be part of a project and win something. But my comeback to that is Arsenal's project is going to be a failed project. It is not what the club and the fan base think they've got. Look at their defence, right? Tierney's leaving. They got Saliba. As soon as Saliba was injured, their defence was fucking shocking, right? They got players leaving. Their squad is getting weaker, not better, right? They're buying Kai Havertz from Chelsea for £60 million, who has fouled at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. He has fouled. Otherwise, they wouldn't be selling him, in my opinion. And yet, this is where I don't get it with Arsenal. They're prepared to pay 60 million for Havertz, but they're struggling to meet the fee of 100 million.
A failed Premier League player.
Well, they might change him. Look, Arteta might get the best out of him. We don't know. But that, to me, is disgusting. Arsenal should be going all out to say to Declan Rice, we love you that much. We want you that much. We're going to get the transfer fee that West Ham want and get you out there.
But do you know what pisses me off, though? When you listen to Arsenal, I'm going to go back to Arsenal Fan TV again. And this is you talking about the project. I keep on talking about the project. The project is a progressive manager that plays an exciting brand of football and buying young players that can get better. That's a standard fucking template for any project, or it should be. That is literally how anyone should be running their fucking football club. They haven't. It's not revolutionary what they're doing. It's not. And the fact of the matter is, what they did lack, and that's why their asses fell out towards the end, was they've gone too young, because the young players, they needed some older heads with experience in that team. That's the only way, because let's face it, they handed that title to Man City in the end, didn't they?
Yeah.
They handed it. They collapsed. It was a beautiful collapse. I enjoyed every minute of it.
I'm guessing across the pond, sports talk is from the US, but he's an Arsenal fan. He's gone, Havertz, Timber, Lavia, and Rice will be nice. We rocking and all under 25.
I must admit, across the pond's been very respectful in the chat, though.
No,
he's been very
I'm
respectful.
I'm not taking the piss out of his American accent.
That's the worst American accent anyone's ever done, John.
Yeah.
Anyone.
I was just trying to make it feel real.
He has been. He certainly no Arsenal Lee. Put it that way. He's not.
No, exactly.
Geezer. He'd have been fucking blocked, that bloke, if he was in there.
But like, look, I will always.
Fuck off, I'd have said. And then hid for a while. He's a big bloke, isn't he?
I must.
That West Ham, they just see the size of him. He had fucking biceps the size of Bournemouth. That's why Nicky. You know, Arsenal Leeds. You know the geezer who basically went West Ham and crap. Is this, that, the other? Sitting opposite Dad and Nicky.
Nicky looked angry.
He looked angry.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Quite rightly.
Yeah.
I don't listen. I will always want Rice to do well. I genuinely will. However, if he goes to Arsenal, I will want him to do well personally and keep getting better. But I don't want him to win trophies at Arsenal.
No. I want to see Arsenal crash and burn. And I want to see Arteta fired.
So look, before we open the phone lines, because we're going to have to, because this time's getting on. Just tell me now, Gary, where is Declan Rice going to end up?
Arsenal.
John,
I'm saying City through pure hope.
Yeah,
because if he goes to Arsenal, my cousins are going to be fucking messaging me.
Listen, they'll have to pay the right price, though. They'll have to pay the right price. That's the upside.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Mickey Smith says,
there you go. This is true.
Mickey Smith says, John and Gary, if it's only rumours regarding the Rice camp, then it's down to them to come out and say these rumours are not true. That's Mickey's.
No, true, Mickey. But look, it's a bad deck. I think you can slag off his dad and whatever.
You can't
all
say
you
his
like.
dad's not acting in his interest with what he wants.
No, but you can. But honestly, you can have a go at his dad all you like, because we don't know. We don't know the agenda. We don't know the dynamic between him and Deck. We don't know what Deck's actually demanding or not demanding. He won't be his
agent if he didn't want him as his agent.
Well, interestingly, Nick, you said that this is his last payday because family.
There is a new FIFA ruling coming in. Apparently, which states football agents, because this all came off of Paul Pogba and Harry Kane's brother's going to be fucked, isn't he? He's only got Kane as a client.
Every day.
Yeah. But apparently, this is the last year that family members as agents can make a huge amount of money from deals. So this is the last time that Daddy Rice can have a big lump from this, because if this is a £100 million deal, he'll be getting a £10 million agent's fee. He will be.
There's a lot of that crap around. You remember why we lost the Onana deal? That was because his sister was his agent. Yeah, you remember?
Yeah, it's regulated now. Yeah, it's regulated now.
This is a good point. This is a good point. This is something I haven't heard yet. Pep could leave City in 2025 when his contract ends. Maybe Rice is counting on there being a power vacuum soon. Look at the fallout after Fergie left Man U. That's a good way of looking at it. I know you're not going to agree, but that's quite a level-headed way of looking at it. You never know.
I don't know.
It could be City, but
if Rice goes to Arsenal, in my opinion, if Rice goes to Arsenal,
I hope it goes fucking terribly wrong. Terribly wrong.
No.
Terribly wrong.
All right, not terribly. Want him injured?
Terribly. I don't want him injured. I hope it goes to shit.
I don't want him to win nothing. I agree. But whatever happens at Arsenal, him going to Arsenal is purely a stepping stone to a bigger club, in my opinion.
Only if he does well, John. If you don't do well, then the Declan Rice hype train is going to be over.
He can do well without winning a trophy, Nick. He can enhance his reputation with that.
Listen, is he going to shine at Arsenal the way he shone at West Ham if they don't play well, when we weren't playing well?
But just by playing Champions League football, you put yourself in the shop window even more, right? I can't remember who said it, but it's true. Sometimes when players say, I want to win trophies, winning the trophy for some is playing Champions League football. I know it sounds stupid, but there is a little element of that.
Ben's got the ump. He's losing it. Ben's very, very insistent that that Rice is staying. Listen, mate, we all want that. Ben, we do. He ain't staying. He's not. Yeah. I'm sorry. I've been hanging on to that for ages, right up until I've been arguing with John on that one. About John's been saying he's going to go. I've been saying no, he's going to stay. He's not, mate. He's not staying.
He's even changed his Twitter profile, which used to say West Ham captain. It now says it's basically got some generic kind of contact details on there now, apparently.
Yeah.
Cheers, Mickey. Love it, geez. Sweet.
I know. That's John trying to be a Cockney, because you're a bit of a Mockney, ain't you, John?
Yeah. I'm not the one that lives near Spurs. Just saying. Yeah. No, Mickey's. When Mickey leaves them voice notes, they are the best voice
notes. They're brilliant. Always good as well.
I feel like I'm listening to Oliver Twist when he leaves a voice note.
Right. So run through a few comments, John. I'm going to get this set up.
Okay.
Quickly.
So
don't phone in yet, for fuck's sake. 1 minute.
Yeah. Shaky says, if Rice goes to Arsenal, I want to see a ritual burning of the picture behind Nick.
He'll go. If he goes to Arsenal, he's going.
Oh, shut up. Grow up.
That's coming with mate. It's going. I ain't standing on a fucking wall, is it? Could you imagine?
Yeah. What's this one here? Hang on. What's going on? Hang on.
Right.
I believe Chelsea would get back to the powerhouse they were, leaving Spurs and the arse behind. They have far too much backing.
Yeah. That's what I think. You're going to have Man United doing well, Chelsea, Newcastle, and Liverpool. Liverpool will not have another bad season.
Oh, another great point here. Arteta is the next coach for Man City. 2025, Pep is at. If Rice goes to Arsenal, look at the length of the contract. Arteta will take Rice and Saka with him to City. That makes sense.
Gary, now, I'll tell you what,
I've got to get my power charger.
John, if that's a long play, I actually love that.
Hang on.
Don't you like that, Nick?
What's that?
Wouldn't you love that to happen? Let him.
I didn't read it. What did Yardley say? Arteta is the next coach for Man City. 2025 Pep is out. Rice goes to Arsenal. Look at length. Oh, was it not in relation to this?
So imagine they do all the laughing and they get everyone they want and they don't win anything, but they have a couple of decent.
That would make me laugh.
Seasons.
Yeah.
And then Pep leaves. Arteta goes. They lose all their players and they go down the toilet.
Yeah. Because he has got links with City, hasn't he? So
Well, he used to put out the cones for Pep, didn't he?
Yeah, the only thing about that, he's got more affiliation with Arsenal and City, isn't he?
So basically, they're like Man City B, is what you're saying, and they're just sort of they're like a development team, and all right, okay.
Yeah,
anyway,
listen, holding centre.
We got Gary from Romford on the line. Gary.
Oh, what a surprise!
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Gary,
how you doing, mate? You all right?
Yes, fine, thank you. Gary, I'm going to ask you, how's your running coming on?
It isn't.
You've not been out running in 30-degree heat, no?
No. Honestly, I've had a chest infection for like 4 weeks, and I'm just on my second set of antibiotics. Last day tomorrow. It seems to be going at last. Yeah, it's been a nightmare.
I went out running today and I went out yesterday, so I've been doing a bit. Gal, take the vitamin D3, mate. That's what you need. As well. Listen.
Just turn into fucking Boots R Us.
Yeah.
Couple of points. First one is you talk about Declan Rice.
Spelled Gary wrong, John. Spelled Gary wrong.
I've never heard Gary so angry.
Yeah, it has wound me up this week, though, Gary. It has wound me up this week.
Yeah, I know. That guy on the that Gooner Lee wound me up when I heard him. I mean, the arrogance of the bloke, you know. And really, did we really leave Upton Park to London Stadium to be selling our captain to Arsenal? I mean, they think historically, Arsenal are a big club historically, but in so are lots of teams. You know, the thing is, Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, you know, they won the European Cup in the 80s. But the thing is, with Arsenal, you've got to understand, Declan Rice, I mean, it is annoying for me because 3 years ago, we finished above Arsenal and Tottenham. The following season, they finished above us, but we was in Europa League and they weren't in Europe at all. So we were playing to, I think, for that, we would have finished above them that season. But I'm just worried. I don't want to become this selling club again. You know, you're talking about Paqueta now. You know, I mean, we shouldn't be a selling club. You've got 62,500 fans here. It's only when we get this new owner in, we can start really moving forward. I think there's a little bit of jealousy with us as well, with Arsenal, because we should be on a level. We should be on a similar level playing field to them. I know Arsenal are going to say you've never won the league. They've won it umpteen times, but that was 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. You know, and so I can see why West Ham. I'm still angry about it, really, because not being funny, if they had to stay one more year, we're in Europa League next year. He could have won that. We're in the Champions League, and he could have looked at it in the next season thinking, well, I'm in the Champions League, and it could turn out next season that Arsenal drop down into the Europa League where we are. But I think if he goes to Arsenal, it'll be for the challenge. Because
Gary, imagine that. Imagine that imagine us facing Arsenal in the quarter final.
Yeah, but you made a point earlier. If he goes to City, right? He wants to stay in London, I think. But if he goes to City, they've won the treble. I can't see him doing that again. So if he did win the league at Arsenal, obviously maybe that would that appeals to him, that challenge side of it. But I think if he's going to go to Arsenal, so it's up to West Ham to hold their ground. And we won 100 million. I don't want £70 million an add-on from Arsenal, like they're going to win the Europa League or Champions League. It's not going to happen. We've got to hold out 100 million.
What I don't get with the whole Declan Rice to Arsenal thing right now. Look, I'm not deluded. If you were a player that wasn't playing for either team and you had no connection with either, and you've got an option of going to Arsenal and West Ham, and you've got one team that play beautiful progressive football with an exciting manager, and they're building a young team, and they're in the Champions League, it's a no-brainer. But you don't. But there isn't that much of a gulf in the clubs when you're someone like Declan Rice's level at West Ham. You're idolised. You're the captain. You're already an ever-present in the fucking England team. You can't get any better there. You've just won a cup. It's completely different, and that is what a lot of these Arsenal fans are saying. They're making that comparison, but that isn't the same comparison for someone like Declan Rice in his position at West Ham. You know, to leave what he's got at West Ham to go to Arsenal is a bit of a sideways step, because the other thing as well, I know we knock David Moyes' football style. We do. It's defensive, but you know something. For a central defensive midfielder, it's a style that Declan Rice flourishes in. It's his bread and butter. He's a defender.
I know.
He's a defender.
And I think, I don't think he'll play that role for Arsenal. I think he'll play a bit further forward, which maybe Rice wants that. I think Rice always wanted to be that box-to-box player. So that would be another reason to go, I suppose. But also, I can ask you, I mean, some of the Arsenal fans are genuine. I mean, Lee Judges is on there, a few other guys, Dan Potter. They've got this element to them that they've got these idiots there as well. They have, and there's no doubt about it. And they flourish in that. The other point is, with the transfers, if that goes, if you three of the managers have done this before, haven't we? I'll tell you mine first. Bearing in mind that Souček could be leaving. Now, I reckon if Souček goes, Rice goes, it's a rebuilding midfield. So you've got Paqueta there. And Nick said earlier, if Paqueta plays, he's got to have a strong base behind him because Beck's not going to be there. So I reckon we go to Bristol City and get that young lad, Alex Scott. He's supposed to be people raving about him.
Yeah, he won't play him, Gary. Moyes won't play him.
And I think no, I'm just saying what I would do. And I would get Conor Gallagher in, energy. And up front, I'd have Bowen on the right. I'd bring Harvey Barnes in on the left. So you've got pace both wings. And then if he keeps Skamaka, but if not, I know one or two people said they don't rate him, but I'll tell you what, if we want a player to replace Antonio, there's not many players that can play that role. Ollie Watkins can do it at Villa, but we're not going to get him. Brozier from Chelsea, if he gets over these injury things, when I've seen Brozier, he looks so. He can hold the ball up. He runs the channels.
He's been dead for a year, though.
Absolutely perfect for us. Sorry?
He's been dead for a year. He's done his ACL. Why do we want to buy another
I know.
player?
No, I'm just saying. But I think is he over it now, Nick?
Well, he's over it. But we don't know that he's over it. You know,
I never got over my ACL. You know what I mean?
Oh God.
No, what you could do though, you could get him on a loan with an option to buy, couldn't you? So you haven't got to commit, you know.
Can Cornet be turned from a winger into a striker? You know, Moisey loves to do that, right?
He'd do really well in that role up front, getting battered by centre backs every week, wouldn't he? He wouldn't break at all.
But the trouble is, if Antonio does go, and I know a lot of fans slugging Antonio off, which I'm not happy about that. I think he's been brilliant for the club, personally. And
he's forcing a move away, though, Gary, and that's another one of them where if he is doing that, he can fuck off and all, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, again, let the story come out.
Yeah,
if he goes, you need to bring a player in who can play that role. There ain't that many out there who can do that.
No, there's not. Well, anyway, go on, John.
Yes.
In answer to that, go on. What three players with your vast knowledge of world football would you sign?
What at West Ham or in midfield?
So what did you say, Gary? So Souček, Rice. So you're replacing.
I would have Gallagher, Scott, and Paqueta. I'd have Bowen, Barnes, and Schumacher up front. Who would yours be?
So two central midfielders you want to sign to sit behind Paqueta.
I do like Conor Gallagher. I think his energy is brilliant. I think his energy is infectious. He had some great times on loan at West Brom and Palace.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd 100% go for Conor Gallagher because Chelsea want people off the wage bill, don't they, for FFP and all that. A lot of people, Nick don't agree with this, right? And this is where I get a bit thing with some West Ham fans. I think some West Ham fans are quite snobbish. We're not going to replace Rice with a like-for-like player. We're not going to go and get a world-class player out of something, right? Right. No, not Højbjerg, but I genuinely, people are going to go mad, and Nick's going to go mad here. I really like Scott McTominay. I'm telling you, mate.
Well, Moyes couldn't make him any worse, could he? That's one bonus.
Scott McTominay scores goals. He puts his foot in. I think he's the top scorer in the European Championship qualifications already so far.
It's like ordering Declan Rice off of Wish. You get fucking. No, you got Scott McTominay.
But this is the problem, Nick. But this is the problem. You can't judge who we buy by what we've lost because we will never be able to go out and get a like-for-like player of the same quality now ready-made. Right? You're not going to do that. So someone like McTominay, he's played 300 Premier League games. He's 26 years of age. He's a good player, Nick. I'm telling you.
All right. Well, okay. Well, let's take. So you got McTominay, you got Gallagher. Who's going up front? Who's your new Antonio and Schumacher? Who's going up front in a Moyes system?
New striker.
New striker. Tough one. You got to buy one.
It's impossible because
I'd go Tony.
I hear before the ACL, I would have said Brozier. I was saying Brozier last season. I'm not so sure now. No, there's not many players. Maybe on a loan, mate. But there's not many players that can do that role. There's not many players out there that can, and that's the problem. There's loads of good strikers out there, but it's whether they can do. What's Andy Walsh saying here? Your ACL, John, stands for acute. Fuck off. Sorry, Gary.
We've been linked with him, haven't we?
Who?
The lad at Coventry, the striker. He's got a funny name.
I know you mean.
Gyökeres.
Apparently,
he's good. He's a good player. He's actually really. I think he would fit.
And he would be a Moyes type signing, Championship player. He would be a Moyes type signing.
But Brentford are apparently in advanced talks with him, and apparently from what I've read, they're quite far down the line with that. I think they're going to get
Tony. Yeah, but they're desperate because Tony can't play till January, can he?
So I think that's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, in terms of, I don't know, with me, I'm going to go the different route. I'm going to say I want us to sign players that I don't know about. Because but what I mean is, this director of football coming in, I want us to be going in and signing players that are not obvious, signing players that. I don't want fucking Ward-Prowse. I don't want to pay 40 million and Flynn Downs for Ward-Prowse. I don't want to pay 50 million for fucking Polini, who's 28. I know he's good.
We need young players.
Why buy these for 90 million on fucking 28-year-olds?
Yeah.
What's the point in that?
This is the other problem we've got. the clubs know we've got the money, or we're going to have the money, and they're going to put the price up. They've done that. Fulham have done that. You can't blame Fulham. They've done it to scare us off.
100%.
They've done it to scare us off. And McTominay, what John was saying, I know Gio and Hammers chat was saying about McTominay. I think he is a good player. I think you've got to forget about him at Man United and how he is, or even Maguire.
Gio's biased. He's Scottish, so he's obviously loved.
I know.
Yeah.
He says, I didn't know what that.
He says that he says don't judge him for what he does for Man U because he plays a different game for Scotland, and that's fine. I'll tell you what. One person who we were linked with today, who I really like the idea of as a Rice replacement, is Onana. I thought he was very good last year.
It'd be. I don't think he'd be coming to us now.
That boat sailed, I think, with what happened last year with that transfer.
Well, I don't think. Well, who do you think he's going to go to? He's not going to go to any of the big boys, right? So who do you think he's going to go to?
I think he's good enough.
And if it is the last season that his sister can get a bung out of it, she's going to be trying to move him on, isn't she?
Yeah.
Steve Griffiths. I've heard this one. Adama Traore on a free.
Well, again, he could potentially be turned from a winger into a striker, but I don't think he's finishing. He's
a shit winger and all.
He is. He did used to score goals, though. He did use to score goals.
He's just quick.
Yeah.
Just go and buy a sprinter.
Nick
teach him how to play.
Nick's the only person I puts Vaseline on him and still slower.
Oh, fucking left you standing, mate.
Honestly,
John had the turning circle of an Arctic lorry. I've got no idea he did get injured.
Nick used to ask me to rub Vaseline.
He was always on his arse,
on his arms,
squealing like a pig on the fucking floor all the time.
What I do want is us to get this Declan Rice deal done this week, because it seems to me we can't spend until we sell. And, our targets are slowly going to get whittled down. We can't leave it like last year, last minute. We've got to get these players in, get them a pre-season. And, like I say, we've got to get this done. Can't let it drag on,
We ain't going to buy anyone until the director of football comes in. But if we could get both of those bits of business done this week, director of football and Rice.
Listen. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. We're not going to be... We buy players how we sell players, right? It's all fucking fucked up. It's all half-hearted. It's all lastminute.com.
But we are hoping that's going to change now.
Well, we are. But until he gets off the GIMP boat that's on the English Channel and comes back, nothing's going to happen, right? Rice is on holiday. Yeah. Moyes is on holiday. David Sullivan's at a swingers party on a boat somewhere in the Mediterranean or whatever it is. So nothing's happening this week, I'm afraid to say, Gary. And we will be going into the season with players who have just arrived.
He's had a fax machine installed on the boat, though. So
yeah. John, I was going to say to you, the thing was, when Aston Villa sold Grealish, they did it the right way. They got the players in before they even sold Grealish.
Yeah, but
otherwise, you get 90, 100 million for a deck, and every player you are for, you're going to be another 10, 15 million on top. They know you've got the money. Villa didn't do that.
But Gary, it was wrong what Sullivan did in normal circumstances, and the only justification that I can give Sullivan for doing it is if Declan Rice's camp were trying to force this sole move to Arsenal.
Yeah.
And no. If they were trying to do that, and they were trying to force that move, and he was trying to provoke a bidding war so we could maximise value out of it. If that's the case, Gary, I don't think it was a wrong move. Do you?
Someone get Gio and Henry Richards. McTominay is shut.
I agree with you, Henry.
Oh, Nick,
he's shit.
You think everyone's got to
don't be racist, Nick, just because he's Scottish.
No, I'm not. He's shit.
Right. Anyway, Gary, you've overrun your 10 minutes.
We ain't going to get Harvey Barnes. We're not getting
Harvey Barnes.
Of course we would. I'd take Harvey Barnes. I'd take Madison as well. We ain't getting either of them.
Yeah, I'd take Harvey Barnes as well.
I think. Yeah, Barnes and Bowen on either flank. I think that'd be good. If we're playing like counter-attacking football, that'd be good. This is what I'm saying. I don't like this because I just want to get the players in. I don't want to be hanging about. The transfer window is open, and we should be getting players in.
Yeah,
and we're not.
Well, we've said it before. I mean, look, the reason that Arsenal started on fire last season was because they got all of their business done early.
Yeah,
had an amazing pre-season, and they hit the ground running. The reason we were shit,
they had no Europe either, did they?
No, they had no Europe. But they did have Europe last year. But when they
UEFA,
they had Europa. But when I made that mistake. But when we didn't, we got all our players in late. You know, we were still playing Masuaku and Yarmolenko in our preseason.
Yeah,
friendlies.
we was.
You know, it was a fucking mess. We started slow, and for West Ham to have a good season, like we've proved in the 2 good seasons that we've had, we've got to get points on the board early. Just you've got to hit the ground running, because then what you can do, if you are lucky enough to progress in the cup competition, you haven't got to worry so much about the league. You can just concentrate on those, you know. And
totally agree. Yeah. Totally agree.
So Gary, you're 15 minutes into your 10-minute slot. So
all right, lads.
Thank you for your call.
I missed the show anyway. I've had withdrawal symptoms.
We'll see you then. We'll see you then at Curry House in a couple of weeks. Give Nick a drop. Nick a
definitely,
message.
because I know the owner, John. I know the owner, and I'll get a nice big discount.
Yes,
I've heard. I want extra poppadoms. Extra poppadoms for Johnny. Thank you.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. Cheers,
Gary.
See you later, Gary.
Thanks, mate.
Bye. Take care. Bye.
Hammers. Mikey thinks I'm
one more. I've got
embarrassing.
to phone back. Hang on.
McTominay is shit. Delusional fans thinking he's mustard. Listen, apart from his Scotland goals, right? I think he's an experienced Premier League proper CDM. Sorry, he's not going to be on Rice's ilk.
Hello, it's Nick from Claret and Booze.
Oh, hi there. Hi. Thanks for calling back.
That's all right. No worries. Who are we talking to?
I'm Christy.
Hello, Christy. You're our first female caller. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Hey.
Christy, are you calling from the kitchen?
Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him.
I actually am. I'll let it go.
What would you like to talk about, Christy? What would you like to talk about, Christy? Anyway.
Well, I don't know. The Rice thing, like I think like everyone else, I'm just I love Declan Rice. I absolutely love Declan Rice, but a part of me, and I suppose it's the delusional side of me, I do kind of feel like, I don't know, I don't think it's the right time for him to move. I kind of think he could have given us another year,
100%,
played a year in Europe, got some more experience as a captain in a Europa League competition. He's only 23, 24, if I'm not wrong.
24, yeah.
24, yeah.
Yeah, and I just kind of think, what's the rush to go now? Like, I get that he wants to go and win things, and he's a top player. He needs to do that, but why now? Why this year? And why Arsenal?
And also, like you just said, he's kind. I know, but he's kind of cemented himself as a bit of a legend with the cup. Why not live as that legend for a year?
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. And
you know,
I know the days. I know like the whole Mark Noble thing. Like players just don't do that anymore, which I think that's really sad myself. But I know that's not the done thing anymore. But we could have given him more money. He could have helped build something special there, because there is the foundations there for a good, for a strong side. But I think part of the problem is the Moyes way, if I'm honest.
It is, yeah.
I know people have changed their opinion on Moyes since we won a trophy, but once the euphoria of that wore off, I still sort of look back and I think, but the football we played was poor at times, or most of the time this year.
It was terrible. It was terrible. I mean, I can understand why people for a week or so, because I was floating on a cloud, right? I was absolutely elated with that, like we all were, and I think for a week afterwards, probably you can forgive people for getting a little bit warmer to Moyes, but I think beyond that, once the dust settles and once you put your glasses back on, you realise that nothing's changed. Really, nothing's changed. It was only one game.
No,
you can't go from before the final saying you wanted him out, and then after the final saying you want him in. In my mind,
no.
No, I was still very much he needs to go. Like, I was obviously elated that we won it, and did a good job to win it. But it doesn't change the fact that we don't score enough goals. Stats are there to be seen, and I don't see how we're going to improve on that in the system we play. Like, you look at Scamacca, you look at how he performed in Sierra A, and then what happened when he comes to us. It's like they come to us and they just wither away into. They just become shit.
Yeah, he's going to turn into. He's going to be another Haller. He is, right. If he goes,
he'll
kick
on.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, you're choked about that one, aren't you, John? With Scamacca.
What?
Scamacca, you're upset about that one.
Yeah, because in the glimpses I've seen Scamacca play live, I think he's just looks.
Looks
I
class.
think he looked very good. He scored. He scored all sorts of goals, little cheeky chips, nice headers.
He scored every flavour of goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's just, to me, he's had an air of easy around him. Everything seems easy that he's done in the short times I've seen him play. So it's quite embarrassing and also ridiculous that, you know, I'm not so up on Haller. When I saw him at West, I wasn't as excited watching Haller at West Ham as I have been in the short time seeing Skamaka, if that makes sense. That makes sense.
I think early days Haller was good, wasn't he? Early days when he first arrived.
Yeah, but I didn't.
I thought he looked good. I thought he looked good. I'm with Gary on that one.
But there's something about Skamaka, the Italian side. He's a good-looking bloke. He's got nice tattoos. I'd love to rub Vaseline on his shoulders. You know, there's lots to be said about Skamaka. You know, he encompasses all sorts. You know, I just think I want Skamaka to stay and fight. I don't think he will.
No. I mean,
I do. If he goes, what a waste of a signing.
Well, it would be. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, he is a top level player as well, Christy. He's and for us now, and the worry is after Haller, after Ings, after Skamaka, you'd like to. If we're going to go out and look for another top player, it's not going to be easy for David Moyes to attract a striker to come to him, is it?
No.
Well, that's going to be almost impossible.
Yeah, because anyone that's going to look at us is going to think, well, all these other strikers that have come, look what's happened to them.
Yeah.
And they go on to other clubs, and then they sort of look at Haller, look how well I know it's a different level to the Premier League, but even so,
do you know what's quite interesting about the Rice thing is that sorry, Christy, if I interrupted you. What's quite interesting about the Rice thing is that we sort of, a lot of the fan base quite seemingly understand why other players would want to leave because they don't like playing in the Moyes way and all that. But with Rice, if you look at it from a devil's advocate side of things, he's not only had to play in that system and in some degree maybe hold back and be more defensive than he probably wants to be, but he's also had to come out in the media constantly and praise Moyes, whether he means it or not. So what I'm trying to say is people question that he wants to leave. How can he not want to stay and be a legend and blah, blah, blah. In my eyes, he'll be a legend to some extent, whether he goes now or not. But can you imagine the pressure on his shoulders playing in a system that he probably doesn't enjoy and that he has to constantly compliment, if you know what I mean?
Well, it's his job, isn't it? I suppose, to a degree.
Nick, that's not the point. My point is...
I know what you're saying.
You can, apart trophies aside, you can totally understand why he would want to play in a system that is far better quality of football.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
So we have to accept that as well because we accept it.
But the worry is, you know, you're talking that's Declan Rice as a central defensive midfielder who has flourished and become £100 million player in this system because it plays to his strengths. Yeah. But what about the other players in the team? And this is the thing, as frustrating as it has been for fans to watch this shit, let's face it, that we've been watching this football, knowing that we can do better because we know that we've got all of these players and they're not being utilised or given a chance to show what they can do. How frustrating, honestly. Now, look, you play football. You can't tell me that must be a very frustrated camp for those players playing in that environment. It must be suffocating for the Flair players. They must be like, fucking hell. You know, just it must be.
Yeah, even the way I think he's treated Ben Rama appallingly as well. I think.
Oh yeah.
Like there's clearly a thing. He's clearly got a thing against him, and he's so rigid in his whole approach. Like it just seems to me that he plays one way and that's the end of it. He's not going to change it. Yeah. He's not interested in anyone else's point of view, and that's what I don't like about him. You know, a good manager adapts to the opposition, adapts to the situation you're in, and he doesn't do that.
Or you at least adapt to the players that you've got to get the best out of the players that you've got.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't feel he does that. And I kind of think that say he had gone, like when we were right down there looking in real trouble, because we were in real trouble. Like,
yeah.
I had friends who were like, not West Ham fans, but like, oh, West Ham won't go down. West Ham won't go down. I was like, anyone can go down in theory. You got to win. You don't get the point, you go down. As simple as that. And there was a time where I really thought I couldn't see us getting out of it. I kind of, and I thought if they had got rid of Moyes then, and we'd got someone in. I mean, I wanted Eddie Howe. When Eddie Howe was left Bournemouth, I wanted Eddie Howe. I said that, and everyone's like, "No, he ain't that good." And I was like, "He is that good."
But with the players they've got, would you have ever said that Leicester should have gone down?
No, definitely not.
True.
You know, anyone can go. We were in that in that race, if you like, right up
They
until
did
two games.
They stripped the side down though over a couple of seasons. They
I know,
sold players because the owners were going a little bit skint. And yeah, they did have good players, as in creative players, you know, like Maddison, Barnes, people like that. But they also have weaknesses with Vardy coming to the end of his time and everything else. You know, and lots of
than us though.
And lots of injuries at times throughout the season as well.
You wouldn't have bet on Leicester to go at the beginning of the season. They wouldn't have been someone you'd have thought of to go.
Yeah,
but I think you look at a team like Brighton and look what they've done. Like,
yeah, done brilliantly.
Their scouting system must be obscenely good because the players they've brought in.
Apparently it starts with a complex algorithm that trawls through data and picks out prime candidates for them to go and look at.
Yeah,
that's the way it works. That's all data driven,
and that's what we're looking at now. I mean, obviously, we haven't got that back end. Well, having said that, this guy comes with that because this is very much how he works. He works on data, and it's far more. If you, it's actually quite interesting. I'm not going to talk about it here because it's boring to talk about, but it's interesting to read. But the guy digs into far more than your standard stats, passes. Yeah. You know, even down to things like fucking head movements. I read. So if you're looking at defensive players that need to be aware, apparently John, what he does is, he looks out of possession. It's players scanning and stuff like that. Apparently there are analytics. There's data-driven analytics available on stuff like that, so that you can literally see a player's behaviours off the ball and how they act on the field. So he even looks into that sort of detail. So it is interesting, and we're definitely
That's what we need. We need like a good scout, a really good, strong scouting system to pick up these players that we can bring in. But again, everything's always lastminute.com. It is lastminute.com for everything with us, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll all sort of waiting around last minute before the season starts. Who are we bringing in?
And as John said, you know, with the lastminute.com thing, we might have a director of football that can go out and find these players, but I'm assuming that little Monster Munch hands is still going to be involved in signing the final deal, isn't he? So that could be the sticking point still. Yeah. It could be the sticking point still for us.
Yeah, it is. And I do also think that I don't know. I think there might be a twist in the saga of Rice because I just can't see us. I can't see.
Hang on a minute. Just like your namesake, Agatha Christie. Tell me the truth.
You call it Christie. You call it.
No, I don't know. I just think it's a funny old system now, isn't it? What you think will happen often doesn't happen, and like I'm not saying he's not going to go, but I just can't see Arsenal paying that.
It would be funny though. It would be very funny.
You know what the funny thing is about the Arsenal thing is? I've got to give West Ham a little bit of kudos here. Is that apparently some of the add-ons were laughable? Like they literally went, "Well, that's not going to happen." So it must have been things like, if he comes to Arsenal, we win the league. And they've gone, well, that's not going to bloody happen.
Apparently one of them was winning the Champions League and the league. Okay.
What are they like, Chris?
Did you see that spoof of Edu the other day? It's like, I offer you 65 million and a Kit Kat on Mars bar.
Yeah.
And if Arsenal win the World Cup,
yeah, if Madeleine McCann is found, and,
stuff
like that. Yeah. If she's alive, you get another 5 million.
I heard the same. I heard that interview with the Arsenal Fan TV, the one you were talking about earlier, and like you listening to it, and you're like, it was embarrassing. Like,
really,
it was embarrassing. Yeah. Like, I've got family who are Tottenham fans, like not my relatable family. My married-in family who are Tottenham fans.
You can't choose your family.
In-laws, bloody in-laws.
I know.
You're like, no. You listen to some of what they say about Tottenham, and you're like, it's like I don't know.
I've got the same thing. So my other half, who is now a West Ham fan, her family are all Tottenham, and when Ben was born, there was a Tottenham baby grow that was opened on his first, and it literally, I snatched it.
Was it absorbent? I
threw it straight back at him. I said, "I'm sorry, no, never going to happen." Yeah, didn't go down well, but I don't care.
Did you hear about they think they're getting Bowen now? Have you heard that?
Yes, it's not going to happen.
Silly Tottenham.
I can't see West Ham play against Spurs. I can't see that. But
it's going to be funny watching Spurs without a defense next year, isn't it?
I'll be honest as well.
What Danny Dyer would say about that?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but might be out of the family very quick.
But they've just signed Kulusevski, haven't they? They've extended his deal, and he's a fucking good player out on the right side. So I don't see. Is it Kulusevski? The right
Spurs, yeah. Sorry,
Spurs.
yeah.
So they've extended his deal. He's a good player. So I don't think that they don't need Bowen. I don't think that's not.
But you know that article about Bowen. They said if they don't get Barnes, they get Bowen. Well, Barnes plays on the left, Bowen plays on the right.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah, they're different players completely.
Yeah. It's lazy media, like you said earlier. Lazy reporting.
Well, some of the stuff you read, it's some of the stuff you read. You just think, like, who writes this stuff, really?
Yeah,
like,
nonsense. Yeah.
Who comes up with this crap?
Well, journalists like Sean Whetstone. What? Who said that?
Yeah, well, no, but it is, and well, where it all comes from anyway, we know that it comes from players' agents who are trying to drum up a move for their player.
Yeah.
So they, by linking them with a club, they're hoping that it spikes interest from other clubs. That's 90% of it. I'm sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think West Ham. Like, I don't know if you feel this, but like, even when you watch Match of the Day, like, we're always on last, or like. If we ever have a really good game, it's always about the focus is always about how poor the other team was.
Yeah, they showed the highlights. Well, they showed the highlights that contradict what you saw in the game.
Or we get stuffed and they put us on first.
Yeah, every time. Yeah. Every time. Yeah.
Yeah, we always have the shortest amount of punditry as well.
Yeah, I know. So I'm going to ask you a question, though, Christy, before we close your call. So that is, we had a little chat earlier on, and that was I said, and I actually mean this as well. Declan Rice does get sold. Just say he gets sold. I would take a new manager and no money spent over David Moyes and 200 million.
Yeah.
What would you take? No, what I mean is a new exciting manager. Keep the rest of the players that we've got. Paqueta,
no additions to
everyone else. No additions. Just a
no
new
more
manager.
Sales, no additions.
No more sales, no more additions. And we get a new, but we get an exciting manager, a new manager, and we've got our youth players coming through, but no money spent. Would you rather that, or would you rather David Moyes with 200 million spent?
That's interesting.
Oh, that's a really hard. That's a really hard one. I could see both sides of that. Well, without Rice, I think we look completely different. I am concerned.
Big void, isn't it? Big void.
But at the same time, I think an exciting new manager would possibly transform us as well. Without Rice, it's a tough one. That.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of players though. When you look at our squad, there's a lot of players there. We've got Downs, we've got Fornals, we've still got Lanzini until the end of the month. You know that's probably not too late to recover that. Souček.
I'd like to see Mabama. Is it Mabama or
Mabama? Yeah.
I'd like to see him have a start and see how he does, because he looked quite decent when he did play.
Well, he might have to if we lose all our attackers. He might have to play.
We go into the season with just November.
Yeah, and Nick, think about this, right? Think about this, Nick, this possible outcome. If the ambitious new young manager with no money to spend, he comes in about Christmas time, we're in the bottom three, we're going to get relegated. Moyes could come back for a third term.
Yeah, that'd be genius. That'd be
save us again, Nick.
It would be brilliant. Yeah, I'd love it.
Anyway, Christy, you're 16 minutes, nearly 17 minutes into your 10 minutes. So,
Christy, taking liberties.
You've broken Gary's rule there. He's let you run. He said, "I'm going to be 10 minutes. I'm going to be firm on 10 minutes." He said to me earlier.
It was a call. It was a good call as well.
It was a really good call.
Yeah.
First time caller, she's a Vimins, you know.
She's a Vimins.
Hello, the Vimins. How you doing? You know.
I suppose I should get back to my kitchen then, shouldn't I?
Well, I'll tell you what. You need to get off the phone, because your partner's obviously waiting for a cup of tea. So hurry up and get on. Fucking about in here for 16 minutes. Get off.
Christy, it was lovely to talk to you.
I'm only joking.
Andrew, I look forward to seeing the show.
Lovely.
Thanks,
cheers,
Christy.
Eddie. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Is casual sexism allowed? I don't know if it's allowed.
No, it wasn't that casual though. Really, was it?
It weren't casual at all.
Full-blown misogyny, John. Full-blown misogyny.
Right.
Tier 1.
We'll make this the last call. This is John from Kent, our mate.
Where are we? We're nearly at 2 hours. We're doing all right.
Yeah. Hello, John.
Hi, Nick. You all right?
I'm very well. Very well. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Thank you.
Good, good, good. Before we move on, John from Kent met us at the Black Lion for the final, and he's very
with his daughter.
He's very kindly. He's a chap who got us a drinks order from Waitrose in Enfield Town, which I'm working my way through. So I will get yours down to you.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, John.
So John from Kent, who's not from Kent, isn't it? That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, let me clear that up first, Virgil.
Okay. Go
So
on.
when I very first called in, I was asked where I came from.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm originally from Kent. And before I could get a word in edgeways, Gary stepped in and started calling me, what was it, from the marshes and with webbed feet and all this, that, and the other. So I just let it go. So I'm originally from Kent, but I'm now in leafy Sussex.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay, all right.
There we go. So you're John from
So that's
Sussex.
cleared that up.
Well, you are actually John from Kent because you're from Kent.
Originally from Kent.
Yeah.
This is confusing lots of people. Can we get on with
it is. But anyway, John, what would you like?
Confused you soon will be.
Yeah. What would you like to talk about?
Right. So I just want to go talk about the director of football. So is that done and dusted?
It's done and dusted. So yeah, a few people have asked that. I wasn't sure because we all saw the update from Fabrizio a couple of weeks ago because there was a bit of a to and fro on Twitter after that with ITKs getting up with each other. But it materialises that it's been done for a while. It's done. He's in. I don't know whether he's in as in with the team yet, but the deal's been signed. It is done. Why it's not been announced, we don't know. It wasn't clarified, but apparently there could be some internal politics that they're trying to clear up before they announce it.
Okay, yeah. I mean that's the worry because it hasn't been announced officially. So
yeah, anything could happen.
Yeah, that's right. But to me, this is such an important appointment.
Yeah.
And it could be the most important appointment that we've had in years, really.
Yeah.
And as a club, we've been so behind the curve, really, in appointing this sort of person. Because I mean, I would love to know. I'd love to go to the board and to the management of West Ham and say, what is your recruitment policy? Because I'll bet your life they haven't got one.
No.
Yeah.
It's all done. It's all done on the hoof.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they made
and this director of football has got to introduce a proper recruitment policy and a long-term strategy for the club and get the right people in around him to implement that policy.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I remember talking to. Go ahead.
No, go, mate. Go on, finish up.
Yeah, I mean, I remember talking to you when I first called in. It was probably about 8 months ago, and I was very excited about the summer signings, but I was concerned that we'd signed 8 players in one hit.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
That's too much.
Yeah.
We need to have a strategy where we have a trickle of players come and go each season.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at a squad of 25 players, I would suggest you don't want to have more than a 20% turnover per season, because if you have more than that, it's too much to try and implement in one go.
It's too much change.
And
much change. Yeah.
It's too much change. Yeah. And we've got this youth policy. We've won the FA Youth Cup this season. We've got to start bringing in 1 or 2 players into the squad per season. They may not work out, but give them a chance in the squad and give them some game time.
Yeah.
Because until they're up playing against hardened professionals from around the world in the best league in the world, you won't really see what they're like.
You won't.
Yeah. So you've got to.
And sorry, John, that is one of Moyes' biggest failures as far as I'm concerned. Because if you look at Declan Rice brought through, he's the one who gave Slaven Bilic gave Declan Rice his debut. I don't think.
Yeah.
You can say Moyes ran with him and played him, but he hasn't actually done that with a single player. Brought a player through, given him his chance, and introduced him and brought him into his team. Not one in 3, including his 3.5 years. He's not done it once.
And Pellegrini introduced
Johnson,
Moyes as a central midfielder. He pushed him for,
Rice.
So,
Rice. Yeah,
he did. He developed Rice. Pellegrini
Rice
was important to his development. He showed faith in him as well. He showed faith in him, and I don't think, to Nick's point, I don't think Moyes would have shown that same faith to a young
when he had
player.
Those bad games, like he did.
Yeah, he did have a few bad ones as well.
He'd have dumped Rice, and Rice would have been nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. So this is a massive appointment, I think, for us, and it's one that we need to tie down on a fairly long contract. Managers can come and go, players can come and go, but I think you need somebody at the high level who's involved with the overall recruitment process and all of the playing staff from youth level right up to senior level. You need continuity there. And I just hope this works out for us this time.
Well, if it's tying the whole thing together. It's tying the whole thing together. If you go back to the last director of football we had, it was actually Pellegrini's director of football. I forget his name now, but Pellegrini chose him, hired him. It was actually his mate, wasn't it? And and then both of their sons became scouts. It was very much keep it in the family.
Yeah,
that wasn't a proper director of football. Yeah. This is a proper director of football, and as a director of football, you're responsible, if it's done properly, for setting the overall strategy of the football club, for bringing all those different streams together of players from youth to the full squad, to identifying players that you need to go to get to fill in gaps in your squad, to the ins and outs, the trading of players, and also being the you're basically you're in between the manager and the board. The board now speak to you, and you speak to the manager. Well, that's the way it should work.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, then the director of football creates the whole ethos and ideology of the club.
Yeah. Manager is a coach.
I know. But yes, I know. I'm not asking for assurance about that. I know that. But what I'm saying is, shut up, Nick, you knobhead. What I'm saying is, right? Can you imagine, though? Seriously, I can't imagine power-hungry Sullivan above the director of football and power-hungry Moyes below the director of football. I genuinely can't see him accepting
if it doesn't work. If this guy doesn't work, it's the club, not him. If it doesn't work with him, there is fuck all wrong with him. He's CV says
I'm not saying that.
So if this doesn't work, it's an embarrassment for the club, as far as I'm concerned. One of many.
But there's lots of embarrassments that happen to the club. But the problem is Sullivan is an egomaniac, right? Absolutely, because you saw that kind of fucking suit he wore at the fucking final. I mean, he looked like he looked like the world's worst version of Huggy Bear, for fuck's sake, right?
It's like
well, I've actually been looking out for that on eBay, but I haven't seen it yet.
You can find them actually if you look up the interior for a 1970 Capri gear.
Yeah.
You can actually get the same material.
Me and Nick weren't born in 1970, Gal. We don't know
we don't know what you're talking about, do we?
You and John from Kent, who's not from Kent, you probably had one.
By the way, El Chico has said in the chat about Newman. I heard Newman staying.
Yeah, he could be as a head scout.
Yeah.
To work with them.
Well, let's be honest, right? The players he's signed, have actually been pretty good, haven't they? Huzilos was our last director of football. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. But one quick thing, John, as well, because this is what I can't. I don't know whether I've missed something, right? Because obviously Newman went out. He was tasked with bringing players in to help us play a different style. Apparently, we tried to play a different way. Did you at any point throughout the season notice a difference in the way that we played? Ever? Did you see it? A new possession-based, fast-attacking game?
No, it was exactly the same. And it didn't matter how he set up. It was just giving up possession all the time and very slow. but then that's probably because I think we've got slow-paced players predominantly in the team.
Yeah, that's true.
So whatever he did, whatever players he introduced, or whether he tried on paper to change the system, it didn't ever really look any different from game to game.
So is it? No. So is the director of football coming in? The director of football coming in, therefore, is going to be like flogging a dead horse because
he's not. John, he's not.
No, you're not letting me finish. You're not letting me finish. You're not letting me finish what I'm going to say. You're jumping in and assuming what I'm going to say. The dead horse I'm flogging is Moyes. Because he's brought he's brought in all these coaches and scouts to change the way we play Warburton, Newman. He's brought in all these players in to try and change the way we've played, and it still hasn't worked. So how on earth does Sullivan or the board think that the director of football will enable Moyes to coach in a different way? It won't, will it?
Because I reckon we'll bring players in not really solely to suit Moyes. I think we'll bring players in that we think that we can use and that we think that we need based on this fucking expert that we've got coming in. And I don't think that David Moyes will get that long if it doesn't work. Do you, Gary?
Me neither. No, I don't. I
don't think he'll get long.
I mean, I'll give you an example. It's a great comment here from Johnny Rick, because this actually happened last year. This actually happened. Moyes played Downs as a number 10.
Yeah, that says it all, doesn't it?
It actually happened, didn't it?
Well, wouldn't you have loved to have just seen Downs given a spell, put fucking Suchek on the bench, Downs with Rice in the middle with Paqueta in front?
That's how Rice learned. That's how Rice learned so much playing alongside Noble. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And I always advocated that if Downs would have been put in a lot more than he has been playing alongside Rice in competitive games, he would have learned so much from playing alongside someone like that. Yeah. And you can train as much as you want. Training does not replicate gameplay. You can never replicate a proper game of football. And we've missed the boat on that. And unfortunately, Downs is the one who's probably going to suffer. You know.
There were odd occasions where the three of them played some game time together, and personally, I thought they looked very good.
Yeah, but not enough.
But Moyes just didn't. He just didn't want to start with that three, and he should have given it more of a chance.
Well, the rumor is, John. Sorry. The rumor is with Downs, and this is why I think there was a bit of a fallout with Warburton right from the off. Was because Downs was hired through Warburton because his daughter worked for an agency.
Right. That's right.
So he was a player that he knew, that he recommended. Yeah. So that would piss you off as well, wouldn't it? Because it looks like. Do you know what? It looks like I don't know. If he hasn't brought a player in, it's like
he's petty. He's petty about it. He won't play it. And if you look at and people like Michael Decker here has said Downs is a championship black vest. I'm not sure I can come to that conclusion.
I haven't really seen him yet, mate.
I haven't seen enough of him. I'm not sure how you can.
Why not be?
You know,
well, everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah. No, exactly. They are. But he had, to my mind, he played some games, and in Europe, he was man of the match every time.
Yeah, true.
You know,
true. It was only that time he played number 10 that people went, "What is he doing? He's crap."
Yeah, and guess what? He was playing number 10.
Yeah. Anyway, John, I rudely interrupted you, mate. What was you going to say?
No, so what I want to see for the the sort of immediate future, I guess, is obviously the gold situation resolved on the board with the what do you call it? I've forgotten what we call where it's going to probate.
Yeah.
So that needs to be resolved fairly soon. Hopefully, once that's done and dusted, I'd like to think that Sullivan will be able to think about, handing his cards in, and this director of football that's coming in, he's going to be the mainstay of the club. But anyway, we're just going to have to see how the next couple of years are going to pan out.
The thing is the director of football will have to be the mainstay of the club. It's why the Brighton model worked so well when everyone panicked when Potter left, but De Zerbi came in, picked up the reins, and actually made them even better because it's all set up for the manager. It's easy. They know what you want. You know what the club expect. The director of football says, "This is what we want. This is how it's going to be. You want the job or not?" And if you rate yourself or you like the idea that he's given to you, you take the job.
It's another thing that a director of football was responsible for: succession planning.
Exactly.
Right. So when that manager went out, they knew who the next manager was. Whenever they lose a player to a big club like Casado and whoever, they've got the next one lined up.
Listen, Gary, one of his big jobs, this guy, when he comes in, is going to be identifying Moyes' replacement.
Yeah.
You know,
why are you grinning?
Because it just makes me feel all warm inside.
Yeah,
but
see, we shouldn't be having these conversations about who are we going to get to replace Antonio. A director of football would already know who the next striker is going to be.
Yeah,
right. A list of people who we're going to go after who fit what we need.
Words and Pictures says director of football will be gone halfway through the season,
probably
unless he toadies to Moyes, all the players that under Moyes that didn't toady. I don't know.
I'm certain. I'm more or less certain.
I don't think that's going to happen though.
No, but I'm certain that with this guy, like I say, a guy of this level, you do not get him and convince him to come in unless he's given the format to kind of go out and succeed. He'll see where we've failed before. He'll see what the risks are. He'll know what the problems are. He'll want assurances, and he'll probably have stuff written into his contract. He is going to want to be given as much as everything, I think, because I'm not being funny. If, like you said earlier on, John, he will have come in, asked, what's your strategy for buying players? Oh, if we need a left back, I'll just go and talk to my agent and say, you got any left backs? Because that's basically the way that we do it. And he will have seen that, and because he'll look at some of the money that was spent on some players and go, how did you arrive at that? How did you fucking get that player? Cool, mate. What the fuck was that? Some of these players they'll look at that, and it's some of the players are being linked with now. I mean, fuck me, just James Ward-Prowse. Now look, if it was one player, but we've got like one of the oldest.
I don't want him. He doesn't really want to come to us. It's like a desperate move. I don't really want him.
But I don't want 28, 29-year-old players now. Otherwise, we're going to be in a perpetual state of rebuild all the time.
Not for 30 or 40 million. No.
You know? But anyway, John, I'm going to ask you the same question, right, that I asked Christy. So, if you had a choice of David Moyes staying for the full season and getting 200 million to spend, Rice is gone, he gets 200 million to spend, he spends it on players that he wants, would you take that, or would you prefer to lose Declan Rice, not invest any players, no more players in, no more players out, but you get a real good attacking manager that will use the players, the youth players, and bring everyone else through for a season? What would you prefer? Would you take the exciting manager, or would you take Moyes and 200 million to try and replace Dec in a David Moyes system?
Right, I'm going to cop out here because I'd rather have something in between.
Trevor Brooklyn on the fence. On the fence.
Option, John.
I don't trust Moyes with the money at all.
No,
I just don't. No, it worries me. And I'm kind of like with you guys really. For me personally, I would have preferred to see Moyes just shake his hands with Sullivan and say, right, I've got you the trophy.
Yeah.
Time to move on. But that hasn't happened. But if we're going to get like the 100 for Rice and a bit on top to spend and leave it for Moyes to make those decisions, I'm not certain on that at all.
I mean, I think we know. I think we know that isn't going to be the case, though. By the way, I've just painted something that isn't going to happen because we've now got a director of football.
Yeah.
It's just
questions ain't relevant for then, you mug.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's like Mr. May says, take the money and sack Moyes after one game. Ruthless, Mace. I like it.
Yeah.
But anyway, John, thank you very much for the call, mate.
Cheers, John.
No, you're welcome. Yeah.
Take
care.
Cheers, mate.
See you later.
Yeah.
John, take care.
Bye.
Right. Run through any comments that we've got, John. Anyone's got any questions, and then we'll go at your
One second. I'll just go back up and grab a few. Elbow73 says, with Rice going next season, Moyes will blame the shit dive football on him leaving and transition again.
Yes,
get ready for another piss poor showing.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to task before you move on, Gary. For the first 5 games, just imagine it doesn't go well. Give me five of David Moyes' most used excuses if he was to get the full season, if it weren't going well. What do you reckon they'd be? Give me a couple.
We're in a team in transition.
Yep.
Right. We're trying to bed the players in. These things take time.
I've won you a cup. Do you reckon that'd be thrown out there?
I've won you a cup, and I think people should respect the fact that they've never seen a cup in 43 years. This is the 3rd season in a row we've been in Europe.
Yeah,
well,
right. That's never happened before.
He is stating some facts, but it don't really win me over for him.
There are some facts, but they're not really valid excuses. That's the point. That's a problem.
No.
Andy Walsh has got a good one. Do you think we were unlucky today? That's always a good one.
Squad too large.
That's always a good one.
We were unlucky today. That's always a favourite. Yeah.
User 7383 says, "Would you put everything behind you and take Lingard back because you've seen it before in football?
No,
where team club players. You know what?
He can do one.
Somebody said it on Talk. I can't remember it was on TalkSport the other day, but I totally agreed. Lingard is not Premier League quality anymore.
He isn't.
He's done. He'll be off to
a waste of space.
He'll be off to Saudi Arabia.
What was he doing for Nottingham Forest? He was doing that. He's running a TikTok account.
I'll tell you what, he weren't interested in playing football last year, and he absolutely mugged them off for a season's wages.
I think he played 18 games, no goals, no assists.
That's good. Yeah, we should definitely get him back.
Yeah.
Words and pictures. If any of these things you're saying were going to happen, Moyes wouldn't be manager still. That's a good point. I can look at what he's saying because that's what I was trying to say. Is what's the point of getting this new, vibrant
hold on. I love this one. I love this one from the fans. He's got credit in the bank. That's brilliant.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what you will notice this season, though. How quickly do you reckon that the fan base will turn if it doesn't go well?
Oh, it won't take long.
It won't take
long.
It won't take long.
I mean,
I don't think honestly many people have forgotten what they were saying before the cup final.
No, Nick, this is what I was trying to say to you, Nick, the other day. You saw a few people on Twitter go, Moyes is in.
There are a couple.
But then you go, oh, loads of West Ham fans, and I'm like, where are you seeing loads of West Ham fans?
There was someone on West Ham fan TV on the phone in the other night that was saying that we should be giving him another contract.
Yeah,
wasn't there, Gary?
Really?
Yeah, there was. Yeah. Yeah, I was really surprised, actually. Really surprised. He said if we're going to give him money, perhaps we should consider giving him another couple of years. It's like, what?
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Almost threw my iPad down.
But like you say, he that if the director of football is to be believed that it happens, then the idea of Moyes wasting money is not relevant because he won't be spending it, will he?
No.
He's got to coach it. He's got to coach.
He's got to coach it, and if he proves, if he's got a new boss, you've got to imagine this guy coming in is now his new boss. So he hasn't got to pander to David Sullivan anymore. He's got to pander to this guy because this guy's going to be the go-between. And if it isn't working, and this guy says the reason it ain't working is because of that fucking idiot you've got downstairs running this.
And the one reason it might work is because for the season anyway, they might get on for the season and stumble through. Because I know that David Moyes feels extremely grateful and subservient to David Sullivan at the moment, and I think quite honestly, after he kept him in a job last year, he owes him the cup, he owes him this, he owes him that. I think if Sullivan asks him to be a good boy and play nicely with the director of football, I think he'll feel obliged to do it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I know. But it is we are in purgatory, and I think we're going to be for a little while. Well, I say that I will start to get a little bit excited if once STEIDTON has been announced, because then we might start actually seeing some movement in terms of players coming in. I think that'd be interesting.
So what's this? Lingard, this one here. Lingard should be going to Inter Miami, last place in the MLS. Neville and Beckham have built a team that took last place in the MLS.
Phil Neville was the manager, but he got sacked the other day because they're bottom of
shit, isn't he?
Beckham had to sack Phil Neville.
He must be really shit.
Well, the interesting.
Andrew in that conversation went, "There you are, Phil."
The interesting thing about that was he sacked Phil Neville because Phil Neville, his record was terrible, and the fans were giving him stick because he kept bringing his son on. Phil Neville kept bringing his son on to play.
No.
So then Beckham sacked him, and then about a week later, just the other day, Beckham sold his son to Brentford.
Well, he's on loan. They haven't signed him yet, so he's
agreed to sell him. He's agreed to sell him. Apparently, they want him.
Brentford. Oh, really? They want him because I know he scored the other day. He scored the other day.
They don't have They have under 23s, don't they? Don't B team, Brentford B.
Have a B team.
Words and pictures. I think Sullivan feeds off the fans not being happy. He has a history of deliberately. Well, he does have a history of deliberately annoying and disrespecting fans, but also I think Sullivan kind of likes to be loved. I think we've seen that before.
I don't see that. I genuinely don't see that.
No, again, the way he's acted.
He has not been loved in his whole time
this season. The way he's acted this season, he's acted like a proper little narcissist, and So
I think he would be bothered, John. I think he would be very embarrassed and bothered if at any point when he's got his little bit of a crumpet sitting next to him in that stadium, if the whole fan base turned on him.
I said this earlier, and Elbow 73 said exactly what I said. This is all he cares about.
I agree.
All he cares about is protecting his asset. And you could say that's what businessmen should worry about. But when you have that idea of just being happy to be in the Premier League, which I don't give a fuck about personally, there's no ambition. So for me, what's the point of always finishing mid-table? It's pointless.
I'll tell you what,
he's got nothing to dream about.
It's great to see a player from the. It's great to see a player, young player from the back streets, make his way up. For against all odds, no help at all.
But listen, Gary. With all due respect, this is a guy that's come from a very privileged background, and from what I've read on Roma, because I've read an article about him, and this is Thomas Frank spoke about him. And they said his fucking work ethic is outstanding. He's in early for training. He's in fact, they're having to advise him to get off the training pitch at times.
Well, so he's like got a lot.
He's got a lot of work ethic. So you've got to give him some credit there.
His dad, his dad, David Beckham. When Kelly, my ex-wife, when she was growing up in Limes Avenue in Hainault, right, big council estate in Hainault, David Beckham used to live across the street in Limes Farm. So I mean, I know Posh came from actually a posh background, and her dad was very rich and drove a Rolls Royce and everything else. But Beckham didn't. He come from proper working class, council estate next to Hainault Station. I've got time for Beckham actually. I've got time for him.
Yeah, I mean, is that how you modelled your blonde locks on Beckham? Was it?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. But do you not think that's because look, I know Romeo Beckham would have had obviously he's got the genes. He would have had the very best coaching. But John, it takes work ethic to make it, doesn't it? He must have the work ethic.
Yeah, you got to have it. It don't matter what your name is, what talent you got.
Yeah.
You can be technically poor, but your work ethic can get you a long way.
Yeah,
especially as a youngster, and they can teach.
And that's what he said. Beckham, we used to take the free kicks. Apparently he wasn't the most talented player. No, but it was the muscle memory, because he did so much work and so much practicing, staying after training and everything else. He just got it down to a fine art, and he could deliver the most brilliant balls.
But that's the same with a lot of players, though. I mean, look, I know a lot of West Ham fans, we still don't like him. Frank Lampard, he was another one. Yeah. He had to try extra hard. Declan Rice wasn't the best player in his academy.
No,
coming through.
But then you do get the other side of the coin. I mean, someone like Di Canio, he was always staying late and training on his own, did a lot of things.
Yeah.
So you do get that side of it, but generally, most players go home. They don't do any extra.
Did you see the Jimmy Bullard thing on Facebook that was going around earlier on? He's having a round of golf. I don't think it was Tubes he was talking to, but he spoke about when Di Canio came in, because he said he came in at the same time as Di Canio. And apparently what Di Canio did when he came in, he said he was fucking mad, right? Apparently he brought his own coach with him. So apparently when he came in, there was a warm-up for a game. Apparently he said to Redknapp, no, I've got my own man. He brought his own man in, and Redknapp just went, yeah, all right, whatever. And this guy he took the coaches a warm-up. He said it was only the warm-ups. He said, but you've got to bear in mind, back then, we all used to do our own thing. He said, we're all warming up, sort of doing our gates, all disjointed. All of a sudden, it's like fucking military-grade stuff. We're all like going, fucking hell, Paolo, what's going on here? And he said also our diet back then was awful. And he came in straight away and went, no, pasta. He apparently had a massive effect on West Ham at that time. And Redknapp just went with it. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about Paolo.
Yeah, makes sense, though. A maverick across the board.
Yeah.
Similar to yourself, Nick. Your body's a temple, isn't it?
Body is a temple, a large temple.
Fucking big
really
temple.
Big temple.
A large temple.
One of the 7 wonders of the world.
All right, Twiggy. Yeah.
Anyway, right.
We done.
It's like
2.5 hours. Thank you all for your lovely comments. Been a good show, actually. Enjoyed tonight. We've had a little while off, haven't we? We're going to carry on this summer the way we said we would. When we got something to talk about, we'll have a show. We might have something to talk about in the week. We might not. We got to see how the week evolves. We might have enough news to have a show next Sunday. We might not. Who knows? But anyway,
we're planning on bi-weekly Sunday shows unless there's news, and then we'll do shows. But
we're not going to talk about nothing.
We don't like doing them for the sake of it.
No.
Bi-weekly. Well, bi-weekly, is that the new?
Is that twice a week, or is that every other week?
Bi-weekly.
Every other week. Yeah.
Okay. So So we're bi now.
We're bi. We are.
Yeah. Very much so. Very much so.
Sorry, not politically correct again.
No.
Right. Thank you all. Thank you all for your time, for your company. Speak soon.
Hit the like button.
Should we massive ourselves out?
Piss off, Andy Walsh, for fuck's sake.
Wicked.
What we doing?
Jungle is massive. Wicked.
What are you doing?
Wicked. Jungle is massive. Wicked. Yo.